Hello, and welcome to Back Through the Lens, where two film school friends talk about movies through the haze of nostalgia. The good, the bad, and the ones that aren't quite how we remember them. I'm your host, Rachel, and with me is my co-host, Joe. Today's movie is Clue.
It's Christmas season 1985. Decorations are up, festive songs are on the radio, and holiday movies are on your TV. If you need a little break from the Christmas cheer, Broken Wings by Mr. Mister is leading the singles on the radio, while Rocky IV is still a dominant force from its late November release. Muppet Babies, as well as He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, are what kids are watching on TV when they aren't watching their favorite holiday specials. And what are the children hoping to find under their trees? Maybe a Light Bright, some Fisher-Price's Little People, or perhaps a Transformer. In this season, we celebrate films that turned 40 in 2025, the same year we also hit that milestone.
This whole season, I've been waiting for us to hit each of our birthdays. And I think the last episode, the movie was released in August, if I remember correctly. And then we jumped all the way to December. So
apparently nothing came out besides Rocky IV. I don't know. Nothing that interested us when we made our list, I suppose.
Yeah, but so we have definitely been born at this point, but we just jumped past both of our birthdays.
Yep. Happy birthday.
Yeah. I was thinking about this while I was doing my research. It felt so weird to me that this is a movie based on a board game, because obviously that's not something you see all the time. I feel like more modern times, obviously you see movies based off of video games, and you see movies based off of, you know, even something like the Angry Birds movie. Like,
oh, I forgot about that.
I know. I could. This makes more sense to me, though, you know, basing it off of a video game, because there's usually a story and characters. Board game is different. So I looked up what other movies have been based on board games. The only one I could think of off the top of my head was Battleship.
Yeah.
And that was a more recent one. I think like 2012 was the release year. I never saw it. The only thing I remember is that Rihanna was in it.
She was? Huh.
Yeah, I think that might have been her first movie.
She's in more than one movie?
Wasn't she in the Oceans movie where it's all women?
Oh. I forgot the movie came out. I thought they did another one when they did Battleship, or they were in talks of doing another one for some reason. Oh, I think Battleship came off the very late coattails of the Transformer movies. They're like, let's take 80s IP and make them into movies, directed by Michael Bay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think that's how I remember it. It could be wrong, but I don't know.
But that's a good point too, because there's a whole category of movies that were based on toys, and you could arguably lump this in with that. But
I mean, I'm not the most clever person, but there's a reason why I put He-Man and the Masters of the Universe in our intro.
Yeah,
I just saw that trailer a week ago.
By the way, movies based on board games was a very short list. Apparently someone tried to make a Candyland movie and that failed. It didn't really get off the ground.
I remember seeing something for it, like when they did the Winnie the Pooh, all these like dark story Disney stuff, when the IPs are up. I remember hearing about a Candyland one, but I thought that was fake. Like, apparently not.
The one that was on this list wasn't too recent, so we might be talking about two different things. Your thing might still just be an AI fever dream. Who knows? I've noticed that a lot of movie groups I'm in on social media, people have just started posting AI movie posters or ads for revivals or sequels or new seasons of TV shows, and it's all fake, and I just don't even know what the point is of me being on the internet anymore.
What board game would you like to see made into a movie, serious or otherwise?
I'm trying to think of board games I played, to be honest with you. The first thing that came to mind was that I played Pretty Pretty Princess a lot. I could see that having been turned into some sort of direct-to-video thing when we were kids, honestly. Maybe Don't Break the Ice. That could turn into a movie.
I guess also board game would have to be like a loose interpretation, because there's games like that, or like Kurt Plunk that I played a lot as a kid. I wouldn't call it a board game. I would call it a game. But
that's fair.
But like a non-video game. I played a lot of Stratego as a kid. Kind of a war-based game.
Okay.
Kind of in the vein of Risk. I played a shit ton of Clue, actually, and not just saying that because this is episode. I'm gonna get ahead, but that's a reason why, as a kid, I loved this movie.
That's
Monopoly?
actually why I did. Yeah, I was gonna say I played Clue a lot as a kid, and that's why I was having trouble coming up with another game, because I was like, I don't know, I played Clue a lot and it's already a movie.
Yeah.
I also played Monopoly a lot with my one grandma, and I completely forgot about that until now. But maybe that could be a movie?
Just someone buying a bunch of real estate?
I always think of the dumb mayor from Paw Patrol, the one who's the mayor of the rival city. Humdinger? I can't remember his name now. You wouldn't know. It's fine. But in the Paw Patrol movie, he becomes mayor of a big city, and he's like, libraries are stupid, museums are stupid, parks are stupid, and he's going to close them all. And I'm like, I feel like that's what Monopoly Man would do. I also feel like that's what our current president would do, or is doing, so.
Yeah, well, yeah. Art can imitate life.
I wanted to bring up one other movie that was on the Wikipedia list. The Ouija movie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I forgot about that. I don't think I've seen it, but I've seen it everywhere.
Right. I have not seen that movie. I guess a sequel came out as well. But I remember, seeing the trailers when it came out. I wasn't thinking of that as a board game, but it is funny because I always thought about this, like, when you're kids and you're always like, oh, certain things, like, that's creepy. Take that seriously, and also don't play with it. But then you could buy it at the board game section of Toys R Us.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I always thought of when I would watch The Craft when I was younger. Like, oh, did they get their Ouija board at Toys R Us? Because that's where I saw it all the time.
No, they stole it from the magic shop.
I mean, yeah, probably.
I mean, it is a board game. It's literally got a board.
Yep.
It's more board game than Don't Break the Ice, I suppose.
That's true, if we're being really literal about what a board game is, yeah.
Chutes and Ladders.
Mm-hmm. I played that. Oh, I played Life a lot as an older kid. I remember that one now.
We don't need a movie of that. I live it. I hope it's not great.
No one needs a movie of that. Okay, so now that we've talked about board games.
Right. It's kind of funny because sometimes we'll talk about Blockbuster when renting movies about nostalgia. I think you mentioned Toys R Us, which doesn't exist anymore either.
Yeah.
Damn.
Our movie today is Clue, directed by Jonathan Lynn, released December 13th, 1985, rated PG, based on the board game Cluedo by Anthony E. Pratt, or Clue in North America.
6 strangers are invited to a special dinner supposedly by the person that was blackmailing them, all based on their government jobs and their dirty, vile secrets. It is then revealed that their host, Mr. Body, was the one whom they've been paying to keep his lips sealed. However, Body then provides them all with lethal weapons and proposes them to kill his butler, Wadsworth, the only other one to know their truths. Things turn tricky when the lights go out and it's Mr. Body who ends up dead. We all know that he was murdered in the study, but which guest committed the crime and with which weapon?
So, I did not grow up watching Clue. I didn't see it till I was a lot older, probably college or later. I grew up watching a movie called Murder by Death, which is a murder mystery comedy from 1976 and very similar in a sense to Clue. A crazy rich person invites all these mystery writers to his creepy big mansion to solve a murder mystery. In that movie, the guy running things is played by Truman Capote. That alone, I feel, makes it worth seeing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really good cast. Peter Falk, Peter Sellers, Maggie Smith is in it. I think it's a great movie. But because of that, I would see Clue and be like, I don't know, I already watch this other murder mystery all the time, so whatever. But I had friends who just loved Clue. It was their favorite movie. They grew up watching Clue. And so finally I was like, fine, I will watch this movie. And I remember thinking it just, at the time, felt like, to me, a knockoff of Murder by Death, because I had seen that first, and also Murder by Death was released first. It was released in 1976. So this was not one I was super familiar with, but I'm glad we rewatched it for this because I think I have a new appreciation now.
Nice. Well, sorry that you were forced into watching Clue out of guilt and shame.
Guilt and shame.
I've never seen Murder by Death. I keep meaning to check it out. Maybe I can just wait because it might be on the docket in our future. Who knows? And we debated, if I'm not mistaken, making that a twin movie because it's the similarities to Clue. But we're like, but it didn't come out within a year apart. That's kind of one of the rules, I think.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, we can claim a lot of twin movies if we let decades go by. For me, I feel like I remembered renting this from Blockbuster as a kid. I feel like part of it for young Joe, the attraction was Christopher Lloyd specifically because of Back to the Future. I also remember recognizing Tim Curry. I don't know if it was because of it yet, but I also did start reading and watching horror movies at a young age. If not it, then definitely Home Alone 2.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about him being in that.
Yeah, but yeah, I know I recognized him for sure.
I feel like I always knew who Tim Curry was growing up, but I don't know why.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm trying to make sense of it now. That would make the most sense, either of those two movies first, but who knows? The actor that plays Colonel Mustard, I believe, had a big character role part on the show Roseanne, which I'd watch from time to time as a kid. And then, I don't know then or now how I recognize the actress who played Miss Scarlet. I don't think I've seen other stuff she's been in. Maybe she just has one of those presences on film. But like I said earlier, we've played the board game a lot as a family. I feel like I was Professor Plum a lot. I don't know why. I like the little back corner he's in because even on a shitty roll, you can get into a room pretty quickly.
Okay. I don't remember that much about Clue, the game. I remember playing it a lot, but you had strategy.
Got to. It's a ruthless sport.
All right. So I just want to point out a lot of the information I have for this episode. It comes from a BuzzFeed interview from 2015, I believe, written by Adam B. Very. I think about half the cast is still alive. And I know at the time of this particular interview, Tim Curry had suffered a stroke. And once he had recovered more, they kind of went back and included quotes from him in the interviews. But every subsequent interview I found, it kind of just sounded like it was quoting this one. So...
interesting.
Yeah. It's kind of weird that there isn't more info on Clue, like, because it became so big with our generation. I was surprised. But okay, we start with Deborah Hill, who is one of our producers. We had previously discussed her as one of the producers on the original Halloween. If I remember correctly, she was a partner with John Carpenter, right?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, they were partners on set and in life. And Jamie Lee Curtis was like, oh, they're like my parents, but not.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. I remember that now. She also was a producer on Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I remember talking about her. Okay. So she acquired the rights for Clue from Parker Brothers in 1981 with intentions to make this movie with Universal. It ended up being made at Paramount. I'm not really sure where the switch came in, but I'm also so curious why she thought to acquire these rights in the first place, especially since, as we said, making movies from a board game was not a super common thing, right? Everyone you'll see as we go through this talks about it as being kind of weird and kind of a risk because it's a board game. So I want so badly to know why she even thought to do this, but there's really no information out there, at least that I could find.
A few things. A nice unintentional pun. There's a risk. Haha, I like that. B, I wonder if it switched to Paramount because Deborah was making or producing Pee-wee, and didn't that come from Paramount Pictures as well? So maybe like
Warner Brothers. Well, Paramount released the sequel, I think.
Oh, maybe that's why I'm getting crisscrossed, and never mind. Because I was thinking maybe if she had the rights, she just took them with her when she went at Paramount. But never mind.
Maybe Universal was like, who makes movies off of board games?
Yeah, it's kind of weird if you think about it too much.
Yes. So we're just going to move on. John Landis was initially set to direct, and he was the first to really work on the screenplay. John Landis has directed Blues Brothers, Animal House, Coming to America, among others. He worked out a treatment for the basic plot and the central mystery, or murder mystery, but he realized he had hit a wall. He said, I didn't have a solution. I went to the point when the butler said, I'm going to explain what happened, like in the classic Charlie Chan, Hercule Poirot, Agatha Christie kind of way, and I couldn't figure it out. I set up a crime I couldn't solve, so I thought, well, I gotta get a real writer. So...
I mean, you got most of the way through the movie, it seems like.
Yes, it seemed like he did a decent job for apparently not thinking of himself as a real writer.
Right.
But he first went to Tom Stoppard, the playwright. Tom Stoppard, I've heard his name. I'm not actually familiar with any of his plays. But he wrote a play in 1968 called The Real Inspector Hound, which was a deconstruction of a murder mystery. Apparently, he tried to work on the script for a full year. And the story, according to John Landis, is that Tom Stoppard eventually wrote him a very nice letter on nice stationery saying, like, I'm so sorry, I can't do this. Like, I can't figure it out. And the interviewer they tried to get a comment from Tom Stoppard about this, and he says he has absolutely no recollection of ever working on Clue or hearing about Clue or whatever. So that's going to be a theme in this, where some people have very different recollections of how this all went. Some people have no recollection at all.
Well, it was the 80s, so, who knows?
Who knows? There was a bit from our eventual director, Jonathan Lynn, saying that everyone was on cocaine and he had no idea. He was very naive because his little town in England, no one was on cocaine.
Yep, that's exactly what I was hinting at.
Yep. We'll get to that. But so then Landis went to Stephen Sondheim, famous writer, composer Stephen Sondheim, and the actor Anthony Perkins, probably best known from Psycho. Sondheim and Perkins had written a movie together called The Last of Sheila, which came out in 1973. Also a murder mystery where the suspects play a game. I have seen this once. It's fun. It kind of got brought back up when Knives Out was released as a precursor to that. The cast is Diane Cannon, Raquel Welch, like very of the time, if that makes sense. So they're invited onto a guy's yacht. His wife had been killed the year before, I want to say in a hit and run, and he's for some reason he knows it's someone in their group of friends, and it's him having them play this game, and he'll reveal the killer at the end. It's kind of hard to find, but it was on Amazon when I went to watch it, at least a few years ago.
Okay, so question.
Yes.
The Last of Sheila, you say they get together, play a game, and then they oust the suspect. Mm-hmm. And then your childhood murder mystery movie, don't they also play a game?
Yes.
So maybe the inspiration to taking a board game, specifically this board game, make it a movie, is because it's, instead of playing a game in this murder mystery, it's literally a game that they turn into a murder mystery.
Huh.
Could be...
that's a good point.
Might be a little stretch, but I just keep hearing murder and game. I'm like, well, now it makes sense to me.
Yeah. You know what? Sure. I mean, yeah, and to be fair, like, maybe Deborah Hill thought she could come up with a screenplay that involved these characters' names and a murder mystery.
Right.
I guess I just feel like you didn't necessarily have to pay for the rights to some existing IP to do a murder mystery, but it's fine.
How much could those rights be at the time? They're like, you want to take my board game and make it into a movie? $5.
Okay, I think it was more than that, but okay.
You get my point.
Yes, I get your point. Okay, so having seen The Last of Sheila, I completely forgot it was Stephen Sondheim and Anthony Perkins who had written this together. I forgot they were friends. This information had completely left my brain. Okay, so Landis was like, they're great friends, they're a great team, they're huge mystery buffs, this will be great. However, according to Landis, they asked for an outrageous amount of money. Paramount said, who do these people think they are? And Landis remembers saying, who do they think they are? It's fucking Stephen Sondheim. He wrote Gypsy. Anyway, they said no.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, I feel like even if you're not into musical theater, you've heard of Stephen Sondheim, so... Executive producer Peter Guber? Is that how we're going to say his name?
I am now.
I don't know how else I would pronounce this.
It is Guber as far as English goes.
Poor guy. Okay. So he was a producer on An American Werewolf in London. That was probably the most notable title to throw in here. He pitched this to a British showrunner, writer named Jonathan Lynn. He had worked on these two really popular British TV shows called Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister. I'm not familiar enough with British TV to understand what either of these were, but they were big hits in England, and they felt like he had the right kind of writing sensibility that he could do something like Clue. So Jonathan Lynn said he was impressed that Peter Guber had come to him because he knew him as this big producer. He agreed to fly to Los Angeles at their expense to meet with John Landis and Deborah Hill to hear the full pitch for Clue. He said, frankly, the reason I said yes was because I had never flown first class, and I thought that would be really interesting to do once in my life.
I would probably do the same thing.
Yeah. When Jonathan Lynn met John Landis, Landis had already worked out the overall plot for Clue and acted it out for Lynn. According to Lynn, he was careening around the office, jumping up and down on the furniture, standing on the table, shouting, screaming. It was a tremendous pitch. I've never seen anything like it in my life. But so when this interviewer went to ask Landis about this meeting, he said, you know, Jonathan's so British, he probably thought, holy shit, this guy's very enthusiastic. And this is a minor quibble about what actually happened, but this is going to set up, like I said, lots of people kind of contradicting each other's stories about how things went.
Did he act out all 9 characters? I mean, that's kind of impressive and seems very elaborate and somewhat insane.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when I read this, I was imagining Tim Curry toward the end acting everything out, running around the house.
It's exactly what I was thinking of just now, yes.
And I think also throughout our podcast, we've heard about some pretty elaborate pitches too. The first thing I thought of was Hocus Pocus, when they apparently went all out and like decorated it and got Halloween candy. But this seems like maybe the most physical pitch we've heard about.
Yeah.
So Lynn said the script didn't have real characters. He said just colors. And I thought that was funny because it's just their names. He called it an intellectual challenge because he was allowed to come up with whatever story he could figure out as long as he included the character names, the weapons, the rooms, and the secret passages. So he had to wedge these elements all in somehow.
Yeah, you definitely need all of those if you're going to use those rights, obviously. But I feel like for a murder mystery, it's not that hard, right?
Well, so here's the thing. He also was told from the beginning that he had to come up with 4 different endings, all of which would be plausible. There's some confusion about whether John Landis or Paramount were the ones who wanted different endings in different theaters, which we will get to in a bit. But Landis knew he wanted multiple endings, whether they were going to be shown all together or not. And so he had to come up with ways to make any of those endings plausible if you actually went back and like looked where each character was at what time.
Okay.
So that makes it absolutely harder, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, that part, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, adding some names, some rooms, and some weapons. All right, sure, why not? Oh wait, right. I need to do how many endings? They have to work?
Yes.
Can you pay me more, I guess?
Okay. So He came up with the idea to set it in 1954 because he knew older screenwriters who had been blacklisted during McCarthyism, so he felt like that would be a good excuse to have this blackmail storyline, and it also, to him, felt like a good way to fit in their odd color names because they could be fake names to hide their real identities.
Okay. That answers some of my questions later on.
Yep. Although it's funny to me because they could have all just shown up and had those be their real names and I would have been like, fine.
Yeah, they're not too weird.
Yeah, they're not that weird. And I guess I feel like it would not have taken me out of the movie if those had been their real names. I mean, I just watched a whole movie about this man-child, Pee Wee Herman, so like, I'll go with it. In the time it took Jonathan Lynn to finish the screenplay, John Landis had signed on to direct Spies Like Us. I believe that was Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
So he said Lynn should take over directing because he's like, you've been working on this for so long. You know the story in and out. Why not do this? This was his first time directing. And he basically, Lynn said he wasn't sure he was really up for it. But at the same time, how often do you get the offer to direct your first movie? Like, he just knew he shouldn't say no.
Right.
And Landis stayed on as an executive producer. So Carrie Fisher was originally supposed to play Miss Scarlet. She dropped out in order to go to inpatient rehab. Well, I'm sorry, she did not drop out. She entered rehab. She told Lynn that she could just come to set every day and then go back to the rehab facility in the evenings. And he was like, okay, because he didn't know what else to say about this. He mentioned it to Deborah Hill and she was like, okay. And a bunch of other people were like, yeah, that makes sense. And he's like, looking back, I think it was because everyone was just on cocaine and no one thought it was a big deal. But then eventually the insurance company that was covering the shoot got word of this and said absolutely not. And that's how she ended up being recast.
Okay.
So
interesting.
I also, for me at least, did not recognize Christopher Lloyd at first. I knew he was in this, but even going into my rewatch, it took me a second to realize which one he was. He looks so different to me.
Because he doesn't look like a 70-year-old man with crazy white hair?
I guess. Or Uncle Fester. These are the only ways I know him.
You recognize him when he's bald and plastered painted. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so Leslie Ann Warren was recast as Miss Scarlet. She was actually supposed to play Mrs. White. So this is how Madeline Kahn ended up being brought in for Mrs. White. Yeah, I wonder why they switched her to Miss Scarlet. I mean, I think I love works. Madeline Kahn, so like I'm fine. Yeah, I definitely think it works. Jonathan Lynn for Wadsworth wanted this British actor named Leonard Rossiter. From what I understood, he was mainly on British TV shows. He was known for being the title character in a show called The Fall and Rise of Reginald Perrin, which was based off of a popular book series turned into a popular TV show, at least in England. However, Rossiter was in a play called Loot on the West End that Lynn was directing. This is how Lynn, became friendly with him and wanted him for Wadsworth. Leonard Rossiter had a heart attack and passed away.
Oh my.
I know.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Right. From what I understand, he was waiting to go on stage as his character and had a heart attack. Damn. Which is insane. So Lynn then wanted Rowan Atkinson, who we all know is Mr. Bean. However, Mr. Bean wasn't a thing until 1990. He was getting popular in the UK because of his show Blackadder. I've only seen a couple episodes of this. He plays a guy in medieval Europe. The only thing I really remember from the episodes I saw was that there's a war and he wakes up late and misses the war. Like his alarm didn't go off for the war. So you can imagine it's like a similar type of comedy, right? Like Mr. Bean, he's still very like silly and bumbling, but it was more of a period piece. So Paramount decided that Rowan Atkinson was not well known enough at this time. Jonathan Lynn then went to Tim Curry, who they knew from when they were teens in boarding school together. The studio is okay with this due to the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Tim Curry had some sort of fame under his belt, so...
That's crazy. They were in boarding school together.
Yes. Yep. Tim Curry has claimed that he became an actor because Jonathan Lynn became an actor and no one else from their school had gone into acting. Because apparently Jonathan Lynn did act for a little bit before turning to more behind-the-scenes roles. Who knows if this is true? Some of Tim Curry's quotes, I really couldn't tell if he was kidding or not.
Fair enough.
Colleen Camp, who plays Yvette, the maid, she had to fight really hard to be cast. Apparently, lots of better-known actresses were up for this part. She mentioned Jennifer Jason Leigh, Demi Moore, and Madonna all were interested.
Huh. Madonna, you don't say.
Yeah, I know. Lee Ving, who plays Mr. Body, he was the lead singer of the band Fear. Are you familiar with Fear at all?
I can't say that I am.
Okay, so they're a hardcore band from LA. They were featured in... There's this really well-known documentary series that Penelope Spheris directed. That's Wayne's World, right? She did Wayne's World. Her documentary series is called The Decline of Western Civilization, where she chronicles the punk scene in LA. And it's 3 separate documentaries. I think the second one is metal bands. But Fear was featured in the first one. The only Fear song I know is I Love Living in the City.
Not familiar, so I'll have to listen next gym session maybe.
Yeah, I guess what was surprising to me, though, is how this all translated to the lead singer of Fear being cast in Clue. Nothing of this screams first choice. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe it was monetarily chosen?
Maybe. According to our director, Lynn, he said he didn't want him because he was like, I don't know, he's just some musician. Like, what is this? And the studio was pushing it because, quote, he had a hit record or something. Or something. But at the same time, it's like, so did lots of musicians. So did Madonna. And she was apparently trying to get cast. Right. So I just don't know what it was about Fear.
So Deborah Hill purchases the rights to make Clue.
Yes.
You get a British TV show guy, fly him over, pantomime the whole thing. That guy leaves to do Spies Like Us. What were expectations here? It's weird. To be fair, Mr. Body doesn't do much, and kind of understand why now. I always thought he doesn't do it very well either. He's not an actor. He's just some guy from Fear. But yeah, he mostly just lays face down on the ground. So, I mean, anyone can do that, right?
So after I discovered this, I had to go back and rewatch some scenes just for other reasons. Anytime he was supposed to be dead, I watched him in the scene to see if he was like making any mistakes or anything. And to be fair to him, he looked very dead the whole time he was supposed to be dead. But it just, yeah, he was not an actor at all, really. They got kicked off of SNL in 1981, so it's like they already did not have the best reputation,
right?
I assume. I don't understand why they had to have this guy.
Did anybody else audition? Is there more info? We have info on Wadsworth. We have info on Scarlett and Yvette.
Nope.
And then there's Mr. Body, who is guy from Fear.
Yep. Apparently John Belushi had tried to get Fear onto a soundtrack of a movie he was in, and it didn't work out, and him getting them the gig on SNL was like his way of paying them back for the soundtrack not working out. But again, like, so they had some Hollywood connections, they had some like loose movie connections, whatever. I just still don't understand why the studio was pushing so hard for him. And like you said, it's not like he's that great.
Was the guy that played Francis busy?
Was Truman Capote busy? Is he even alive at this point?
I don't know, actually.
No, either. It's really funny. Like, sometimes we bring all these people up, and I don't think of them as existing at the same time. By the way, Truman Capote passed away in 1984, so yes, he was dead at the time.
He could have played Mr. Body.
Oh, God, okay. Jonathan Lynn was concerned that he was already saying no to too many studio suggestions, so he basically just acquiesced with this one because he was worried about, like, how many times are they going to let me reject their suggestions?
Sure.
So he was like, fine, whatever, cast the guy from Fear. So that's how that happened.
One last comment.
Yes.
I keep forgetting this was a studio suggestion and not someone else's. Like, well, bring like a Belushi, like bring this guy on. It's like the studio wanted the guy from Fear. Okay, moving on.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, it would make so much more sense, honestly, if one of the other cast members was like, this is my friend who would really like to try acting.
Sure.
And that's what I mean. The studio was saying he had a hit record.
Or something.
Or something. All right. So the entire cast received the same salary and equal billing despite varying levels of fame at the time. I'm pretty sure Christopher Lloyd, this was like one of his first big roles, they said. Because I don't think he was famous until Back to the Future.
Sure, yeah. Well, he was on TV shows and whatnot. I'm just, again, not to harp on Mr. Body, but equal pay. Good for this guy.
Yeah, good for that guy. Yeah,
sorry, Tim Curry.
Yes, and we can get into it a little bit later, but Tim Curry apparently took his job extremely seriously while everyone else was screwing around, at least according to Michael McKean.
Well, I mean, he is Tim Curry. I'm not surprised.
Yep. So Jonathan Lynn had everyone watch His Girl Friday, which is a screwball comedy from the 1940s, because he wanted the cast to take inspiration from His Girl Friday on how to deliver their lines. If you've not seen His Girl Friday, it's Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell. It's known for the characters talking very fast. It has really speedy dialogue. It's like a thing that they were able to get through a certain number of pages of dialogue in a certain number of minutes. Also, just a really nice screwball comedy, if that's your jam.
If you're listening to this about Clue, it might be your jam.
Maybe, yeah. Leslie Ann Warren, who played Miss Scarlet, he wanted us all to have that cadence, that very clipped, quick delivery on our lines. And Lynn told them he was envisioning Clue as a screwball noir, which I can absolutely see.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yep. And it's funny, too, because there was a lot with the dialogue that I was like, this sounds like an older movie. And then when I went back and discovered all this, I was like, this totally clicks for me as someone who watches a lot of screwball comedies.
It also just makes sense that it sounds like an older movie because it's set 30 years previous to its release. And it just, generically, I thought it's just how they talked back then. You know?
That's true, too, yeah. Colleen Camp, who played Yvette, he was very adamant about the pace. He wanted us to have the rhythm. We would be almost overlapping dialogue. There'd be a certain style to it. So we all went to Paramount, and when His Girl Friday ended, Eileen Brennan, who's Mrs. Peacock, said, "You can tell that this was before method acting. The people just talk." So they filmed on sound stages at Paramount Studios in Hollywood. I believe there was a real mansion that they used for just exterior shots, and then they kind of recreated some of the driveway and the fountain for close-up shots at the studio to decorate the rooms. Authentic 18th and 19th century furniture was rented from private collectors, including from the estate of Theodore Roosevelt.
What?
Right? After completion, the set was bought by the producers of the TV show Dynasty, who used it as the hotel in the show called the Carlton. And filming on a soundstage allowed them to pretty much film the entire movie in order, which is rarely done, but it's rarely done because you're usually filming movies based on grouping by location. This was all pretty much in one location. And also, Lynn, the director, said the choreography was so complex that it would have been difficult for the actors to remember why they were in a particular spot at a particular moment. It was made easier by shooting it that way. I never thought about this, but he's right. Like, imagine doing like all the kitchen scenes, and some of that's just in the middle of when they're running around chasing Tim Curry. Like,
yeah, that would be very difficult and confusing. Yes. I wonder if the flashbacks, though, when Tim Curry's explaining, if that was shot, that had to be shot out of order, obviously, and use as cut-ins, but in order of the story, I would imagine.
Maybe. That's a good question. From all accounts, the cast got along really well. Leslie Ann Warren, Miss Scarlett. I felt so deeply sorry for Jonathan because we were in hysterics the whole time. It was like trying to herd a bunch of puppies. Michael McKean, who plays Mr. Green. It was one of the most fun gigs I've ever had. We were all in everything. It was all in sequence, on the same stage, in the same wardrobe every day. It's like moving to a small town and you get to know everybody and you have the story holding you together. Martin Mull, who plays Colonel Mustard. There were an awful lot of instances where it was impossible to keep a straight face. In fact, we were laughing so much. One thing that has stayed indelible in my mind is before every take of every scene, Michael McKean would say to everyone in the cast, "Something terrible has happened here," to try to bring us back to the reality of where we were. It got to be quite a funny little catchphrase. And to that, Michael McKean said, "You're living in a fake world, but you try to make it real. It's not funny if it doesn't mean too much to the people it's happening to. It has to be completely life or death."
Method acting.
There you go. Apparently, between takes, they all played pool in the billiards room.
Oh, yeah.
Like, constantly. And there was a quote from Michael McKean saying that the actress that plays Mrs. Peacock, Eileen Brennan, would just cheer for every person whenever they, got one in. Like, she would just cheer for whoever had a good turn.
Okay.
But the only person who could not play pool was Leslie Ann Warren, Miss Scarlett. So she's in a tight evening dress. The costume designer, Michael Kaplan, insisted that all the women wear undergarments that would be of the time. So she was wearing a boned corset and could not move well. So she had to rest against what they called a slant board. And it's a diagonal board that you basically lean against so you could at least get off your feet, and it has armrests. But so she just leaned against this board the whole time and could not play pool because she could not sit or bend.
That's weird. That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess you're not going to change out of your costume in between takes.
Right. Especially if you have to get laced up in a corset every time.
Yeah, she's just going to live in that for the production, I suppose.
Supposedly, though, for the scenes where they're all running around, they had a second dress that had a zipper of some, like a hidden side zipper that she could undo so she could actually move enough to run quickly because she couldn't keep up with everyone in the original costume.
Yeah, I can't imagine that she could.
Yeah. I also wanted to point out Michael Kaplan's name seemed so familiar to me. This is the costume designer. He did costumes for Christmas Vacation and Armageddon, which we have talked about. I don't know if we necessarily talked about the costumes on either of those.
Nope.
Possibly Christmas Vacation, because I do remember there was a bit where they asked Cousin Eddie's wife if she wanted to be more in her underwear or something, because that's what he was going to do. But Michael Kaplan just sounded so familiar. So he did work on at least 2 other movies that we've discussed. But that brings us to our movie. That's all the pre-production stuff I have.
Trying to think of her move in the movie with that corset on. I'm pretty impressed. Like, she jumps up on the piano or something, and she constantly keeps jumping up there and crossing her legs. And I think during the blackmail scene, she moved a lot better than I expected, knowing what I know now.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. There were things, like I said, I went back to look at certain scenes again after doing some of the research, but that is not something I thought about.
I thought the intro was nice and simple, but fun. Just, I don't know, the font was very easy, but not boring. I don't know how else to make it sound like 2 things at once, but...
Yeah. No, this was probably one of the simplest opening credits sequences we've had. But also maybe because it was set in the 50s, this wasn't trying to be an 80s movie. But you're right, it's just everyone's names in alphabetical order and I think it's a black background, and then we just go to a night sky background. But the music is what really does the heavy lifting with this.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the setting. That makes sense. The shot of the hill as Tim Curry is at the gate, and we don't know who his character is yet. He's got his little boulder hat. This apparently real life mansion, very Psycho vibes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got Psycho vibes as well. Apparently, for some of the exterior shots, they used paintings of the house when they had to maybe include things in the foreground. And I feel like looking back at the opening, you can maybe tell where they used a painting, but only because I know that now.
Right.
I think they wanted to add something to the exterior to make it look even more imposing too.
Right.
Which they do.
It doesn't hurt that it's also a house on a hill, and we're always looking up to it.
Does someone not call it Hill House at one point?
I swear that they did. I don't know if I noted it in our notes, but I remember watching it going, Hill House, House on the Hill, House on Haunted Hill, Psycho. Like, it kept getting...
Haunting of Hill House, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's confusing enough that these are all very similar titles and very similar haunted, spooky movies.
I remember someone saying they were at Hill House and immediately thinking, like, the horror movie? Like,
right.
Where are we? Yeah.
I remember seeing this, like, for this viewing for the pod, and not remembering there being dogs, and then they, like, kind of bark and pull at Tim Curry's leg, and he throws them some bones, and thought to myself, what is the point of that? Is this going to come by later? And then I completely forget about the dogs. Yeah, it just seems so random, and they don't use them very often, but they just basically use them for security. No one can leave because of these vicious dogs.
Right. And the one joke that continues throughout the opening.
Yes, well, there's that. Yeah. Wadsworth, he apparently stepped on some doggy doo. I laughed when he opens a door and he's not in the house yet. He just, like, scrapes it on a statue or something right by the door. So I thought that was funny. And it makes sense. You don't want to drag it into the house.
Right.
But then, like, the next 3-4 guests, every time they're, like, by him, they're, like, sniffing the air and looking at their own shoes or making disgusting faces at Wadsworth himself. Why do you smell like shit, sir?
I know. I did think that was funny. I did not remember most of this movie, so a lot of this just felt new to me, honestly.
Nice.
As I will point out, there were some times I was faked out pretty well.
Oh, good.
Yep.
I didn't remember everything. It was more of the overall vibe, I think I remember. Tom, our guy who does our logo, was visiting, and we just wanted to relax. And it's like, well, I gotta watch this movie. You want to watch a movie with me? It's for the podcast, so I have him as a guest viewer. And he made a note in the scene where there's a broken down car, and you just see a silhouette. We don't know who it is. A lady gets out of the car, and she has this halo of a dress around the back of her head and neck. Tom was like, that's some collar. Looks like a hoodie and a cowboy hat had a baby. Yeah, it looks ridiculous. And what's even funnier is we see her out of the car, but then she gets into who we'll find out is Professor Plum, but she gets picked up by Christopher Lloyd's character. And it just engulfs the whole passenger side of the car.
Yeah. It made me think of those funnel collars your dog has to wear when they get a surgery or something.
Yep. She was in a cone, a shame cone.
Yep. Shame cone. Did you realize, by the way, that their cars are their character colors?
No, because it's black as shit outside and it's pouring rain.
Okay, same. I read that later and I was like, that's very interesting. I did not notice at all because it is dark.
Also, we don't
really see a lot of the cars. I got you.
Yeah, Green shows up, Mustard shows up. We don't see their car.
Yeah, we see Scarlet's because it's broken down. We see Plum's because he picks her up.
Yeah.
But that's...
Again, as mentioning the giant collards, everything's silhouetted because of the night sky and the moon or whatever. You can't even tell who this actress is, so you can't tell what color the car is either.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
I got you. I'm with you on that. I had a note that when we meet Mrs. Peacock, she really does look like she would be a Mrs. Peacock.
100%. Yeah.
I think it's her weird hat thing with the twiggy things on top. I don't know what to call them.
It looks, I don't know, like she's wearing some sort of busted ass tiara.
Like, I understand fancy hats or headwear are a thing, but she just looks like a batty old lady that would have a name like Peacock, and then whatever she's wearing on her head really helps, like, drive it home.
I agree with all this, yeah. Again, the fun thing about playing the game and then watching the movie as a younger person is, besides the lack of color matching in their outfits, they look how I imagined them as a kid for the most part. Their personality, the way they're dressed. Peacock looked like Peacock to me, like how I envisioned her as a kid.
There was a version that had pictures of the characters. There was a version of the board game.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was a story later that Michael McKean was out to dinner with someone. That guy saw someone he knew. And this guy was like, oh, my wife was the model for, I want to say it was Miss Scarlet for this version of the Clue game. And Michael McKean was like, oh my God, I was in the movie for Clue. So I didn't realize they didn't always have photos in the game of what the characters could look like.
I think Mr. Green was a little older and frumpier, but speaking of Mr. Green, I love the scene when he comes to the front door. And again, forget about the dogs already because the poop joke is already worn off.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim Curry, a.k.a. Wadsworth, opens the door, and as soon as we see Green, he just yells, "Sit!" And Mr. Green sits down on this little, I don't know, bench.
Or something, yeah.
I wonder if that's the same bench he wiped his poop on. Because it was right by the door. But anyway, Mr. Green sits as he thought he was instructed to, and Walter's like, "No, not you, sir." And it was stupid, but I forgot it happened, and it made me laugh.
Yeah, I thought this was really funny, too. Definitely that screwball energy that they were all mentioning. But also, I would be very intimidated, too, by Tim Curry giving commands in front of me.
That's fair, yeah. There's a line as Plum and Scarlet, who are together because her car broke down, they approach the mansion, and I didn't realize the car had stopped. I thought they just like kind of pulled to a stop to look at this scary house, but Scarlet says something like, "Why did the car stop?" And Plum says, "It's frightened." Yeah. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I have this quote from our director, Jonathan Lynn, saying they felt very strongly that none of them should be dressed in a color that was the same as the name they had. He said the reason for that was that they didn't know what their alias was, so they wouldn't have come dressed as a color. So, for instance, Miss Scarlet was dressed in green. My pushback is that I would have had a much easier time keeping everyone straight if they were wearing their colors.
Yes. Yeah, it'd be easier to keep them straight because there are those 6 plus more characters, and they're all dressed very similarly because of the time, minus, I guess, the cook and the maid.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, with the love of the game, and as a kid, I'm like, well, there's a missed opportunity here. And obviously, as a kid, I don't think I remembered them having these aliases that were thrusted upon them, and they weren't allowed to use their names. I just want to see... I
don't think that was part of the game. I think that was their real names in the game.
Exactly, yeah. That's why, as a kid, it was a little, I wouldn't say confusing, but irritating, because I wanted Mr. Green to wear a green suit. I wanted Miss Scarlet to wear a red dress, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did too. And like you said, it felt like a missed opportunity. If you're specifically adapting this board game, and again, I'm probably also in my head imagining the version of Clue that had the pictures of everyone, so that doesn't really help with that. But yeah, I had a lot of trouble keeping everyone straight at first, and I was just like, why aren't they wearing their colors? And then when I read this quote about how it wouldn't make sense because they get their alias when they show up. Like, again, they could have just had their alias before, or these just could have been their name. Like, I don't know. I would have just gone with it.
Here's my pushback.
It's a movie based on a board game. I would have just followed along with you on this.
Yes. But my pushback on the aliases given to them versus them wearing colors, that's an easy answer right there. Some guy in a Dwight Schrute suit and yellow tie opens the door. "Hey, I'm Colonel. I don't need your real name. Today you are," looks at outfit, "Colonel Mustard."
Sure.
Giving them the names at the door based on what they were wearing would be a very simple solution.
That's a good point too, yeah. Yeah, I just didn't get Lynn's whole thing, like, I need an explanation for these obviously fake names, because are they obviously fake? Have you heard the names of the Princess Bride? Like, I'll just go along with whatever you tell me.
And the thing is, too, is I think it's Mustard, and he tries to give his real name. He's like, nope, we're going by our aliases. You're this. So Wadsworth already knows their aliases anyway.
Yeah.
I think it would just make more sense to at the door, okay, don't give me your real name. I'm going to give you an ocular pat down. You're Miss Scarlet because you're wearing a red dress.
If we really had to go the fake name route.
Yeah, I would have been happy as a kid. They match the colors, and it explains why they have fake names.
Yes. Anyway, the cars match. That's all we needed, I guess.
Yeah, because, we only see 2 of them in the dark. Oh, I read another article. The real correlation with their names, they all had the proper color underwear on. Yeah, so,
Moving on. So once they're all there, I love when they hit the gong for dinner, which, like, first of all, there's a gong to signal dinner.
Right.
But I love how startled Mr. Green is. I think he spills his drink on one of the women because he jumps. But this is a thing throughout the whole movie where he's very easily startled. He's definitely the bumbling idiot of the group, which is funny when we have the reveal in one of the endings. But I also love when, I think it's Colonel Mustard is asking Wadsworth what he does, or he's trying to figure out whose house this is. So he's like, who are you? And Wadsworth says, I'm a butler. And he says, well, what do you do? And Wadsworth says, I buttle.
Yeah. A lot of those little comebacks from Curry are simple, and you will miss a lot of them because A, they're quick, or B, they don't quite make sense. I didn't know you could just buttle, but...
Sure.
Yeah.
Didn't know it was a verb.
Right, yes. Well, the way he delivers it, too, he says it matter-of-factly, and he moves on, and it's so quick because he switches conversations and gears so quickly.
Mm-hmm. So they start talking about Mr. Body. He's not here yet, but I understand why I think he's called Mr. Body because, going into this rewatch, I'm like, well, he's going to be the dead body. So that's why it's called Mr. Body. But I also just couldn't get over what a stupid sounding name that is. Yeah. And then also when you look into the character names, like when you see them written, it's Body with 2 D's, which is also worse. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. But just when you hear them all constantly talking about Mr. Body, it sounds so stupid out loud. But yeah, like, hurry up. Bring in the lead singer from Fear.
This is still comedy, and it's funny, but in this beginning part where we know nothing and it's a little mysterious and it gets tense here at dinner, Mr. Body just takes you out of it.
Yes, it really does.
At dinner, they're all kind of eating in silence. There are strangers. I feel like there's some glances of some people recognizing other people, but they're not sure. Like, did I go to high school with you? Blah 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 blah. Like, who knows? Or do you bag my groceries?
I don't think anyone here bags groceries, but
no one knows. They all got aliases. The point is, there's some familiarity, but no one knows why, and if they're even actually true. Like, if their memory is serving them correctly, so to speak. And Peacock is clearly just a nervous Nelly and starts yammering. I don't remember about what. She's just going on. And the cutaway of the rest of the table, the 5 stares at her. Yeah. So great. They're like, this bitch won't shut the fuck up while I'm trying to eat my soup.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They all eat their soup kind of stupidly. At least loudly. 2 of them are slurping loudly, yes. And she starts going on about how I don't think she says she's a senator's wife. I think someone guesses it, but she starts talking about how she's so used to hosting dinner parties like this, and we all have to get to know each other, and goes on about that. And I like when Miss Scarlet says something to Mrs. Peacock. Perhaps he doesn't want to get acquainted with you. Like, she snaps at her when she's trying to get someone else's name. And I was like, Miss Scarlet's kind of a bee.
Yeah, but I like Miss Scarlet in this movie. And I think in this scene, too, that Peacock is just annoying everybody. They were kind of told that they're supposed to be secretive about their real life, their real name, and she's like, my husband does this. And then this one, Mr. Green's like, oh, I think I recognize you. And then it kind of drops for a beat, and that's where some tension builds in this screwball comedy noir. And she's like, well, who are you? What do you do? Blah, blah, blah. And I think that's when Scarlett snaps back, like, we're following orders here. Let's not get too personal. There's a reason for this. Because they're all kind of suspicious when they come in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I definitely warmed up to Miss Scarlett as this went on. This initial introduction, though, I was like, I would feel Mrs. Peacock's anxiety, just the whole, like, not knowing anything so much feels off limits. Because I do kind of get her when she says, how are we supposed to get to know each other when we can't say anything about each other? Like, what is there to talk about? Because I can't ask anything about you. But then it is kind of funny if the rest of them are like, don't break the rules of this weird situation we're in.
Yeah. Well, they all know they have dirty secrets.
Yeah. That's the thing, too.
So finally, Mr. Boddy shows up. And God, he looks shady as all hell. He doesn't even look like he fits the rest of the movie, in my opinion. I don't know.
I wrote that he looks like a gangster, and then I went back and added, well, this sort of makes sense now that I know he's the front man for a hardcore band.
Yeah. You know what he doesn't look like, at least in this movie? The front man of a hardcore band. So, good job.
More like a ska band, I guess.
Because of the shoes.
Yes, yep.
Okay. I'm glad we're on the same page on this.
Oh, yeah. No, it's all I could think of in the scene where he's running away. First of all, that he has a very odd stance when he runs. Did you not notice that?
Yeah. Well, I just feel like knowing that he's not an actor, that played into it, I feel.
Now, yeah.
How do I run again? What do I do here?
Well, I think it was funny to me because he's supposed to be this big tough guy, and then even in real life, he's big tough guy, hardcore frontman, and then he has this little, like, dainty kind of run.
I'm blaming the dress shoes. The sets, the design of these rooms, in my opinion, did a much better job than the costuming as far as the color coordination. The hallway looked like the hallway, look at the pattern on the floor from the board game. Later, when the cop goes into the billiard room, I'm like, oh my God, it looks like the billiard room, and so on and so forth. It felt like they did a very good job taking these iconic little pieces on a cardboard into a movie set.
I don't even remember much about the board game. It's been so long since I played it, so I'm glad you picked up on this, because I would not have. I mean, I did think the sets were great. I didn't piece it together with being like mimicking the game.
We're gonna have to do a podcast game night.
I know. Probably
Guess
should.
what we're playing? Battleship.
Yeah.
Not Ouija. I was gonna mention how pervy my boy Christopher Lloyd is in this movie.
Yeah.
He's a little perv. It makes me mad. I just see him like not be a lovable character. It's kind of nice for him as an actor, obviously. But right away, we're going back a little bit. They get to the house, him and Scarlett, and they get startled. And he puts his hand behind her, and like I can't tell if I think he squeezed her tushy. It looked like he was, or his hand was on it.
He's at least resting his hand on her butt for no reason. Yes.
Yeah, and she gives him a look, and he does that to the other. I don't know if he flirts with Peacock so much, but he definitely flirts with Scarlett, White, and Yvette.
Yeah, I was surprised at how overt he was about it, especially because we find out later this is kind of what he's trying to hide, but he's just grabbing people out in the open. Yeah,
he's got a problem, clearly.
Yep. I made a note of this line from Colonel Mustard after they all eat, I guess, and go into a different room for brandy and coffee. He says that he came into money after the war when I lost my mommy and daddy.
Yeah, I chuckled at that. Like, that's such a weird line delivered in such a weird way from, like, this war guy with a mustache and tough-looking dude. My mommy and daddy. I also found it weird that dinner, I'm glad it wasn't a long scene, but dinner was so short. Everyone takes, like, 2 slurps of soup. They bring something else out, the conversation goes sideways, and they're like, okay, we'll talk about it in the study for post-dinner brandy. I'm like, post-dinner? The fuck, did he need anything?
Right. And all we get is Mrs. Peacock saying she loves this recipe, but we don't know what it is.
Right. Until later.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But there are so many quick quips, and if you're all paying attention out there, you know I like a movie with some quick quips.
Yeah.
And it makes a movie rewatchable, honestly, if you enjoy it at least, to go back, because you will catch things differently. Even if you heard it the first time, it just will hit you differently 30 years later. But when Wadsworth is airing everyone's laundry and how dirty it is, they talk about Mrs. White's husband who was murdered, and they weren't sure if it's Mrs. White or not, and we're still not sure. And I think Wadsworth said something about, you said you wanted to kill him in public. So then Scarlett says, well, why would you want to kill him in public?
Yeah.
And of course, one meant she said it in public, and then she took it the wrong way. Like, why would you want to murder a man in front of everybody? And it's things like that make me chuckle.
Yeah, absolutely. I liked that a lot. This whole scene was really funny to me. I liked Mrs. White talking about both her husbands. Her first husband disappeared because he was an illusionist and that was his job.
Yeah.
She said something about how her husband just lays on his back all day, and then you find out in this scene it's because he's dead.
Yeah.
Okay, so this rolls into Wadsworth explaining that Mr. Body is the one who is blackmailing them. This is pretty much all I remember from, like, the first time I watched this, because I was like, oh, okay, so he's the blackmailer, so that's why someone kills him, and that's a mystery we're going to solve. Obviously, that is not really the case exactly. This rolls into Mr. Body fighting and running away.
Yeah. I love when he comes in, too, and he's like, why are these people here? And he tries to leave, and, again, he's got, great acting skills. When they all go into the study, there's a chair like way in the back. He just sits there, and the whole time he just like looks so uncomfortable. I feel like, knowing what I know now, in his head, I swear he's probably thinking, all right, this is how he sits in the chair. We're sitting in this chair. You look dangerous. Looking dangerous looks suspicious.
It's how we sit.
He's very stiff looking. He looks so... But it does make him look a little suspicious and spooky. Like, you don't know what he's going to do, because he's doing something as normal as sitting wrong.
Sure.
Like, everyone else sits down and they're... Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Everyone's lounging, they're relaxing, except for poor Mr. Green, who's there. He's out of his seat and he sits on a bench, which ends up breaking. It's like a drink cart or something.
Yeah.
Which adds to his bumbliness, like you said.
Yes. But it's funny because you're right, though, because he is trying to look like such a tough guy, whether this is like the actor or Mr. Body just trying to be a tough guy, whatever. And then when he starts fighting, he just pokes Colonel Mustard in the eyes.
I have Mr. Body's Three Stooges of fighting. I mean, to be fair, Colonel Mustard like literally does the Cowardly Lion to put him up with his knuckles. Because that's how people fought in 1954, you know?
Of course, of course.
But then Body stomps on his toes and does the two-finger eye poke. I was like, this couldn't be any sillier than it is right now.
And then he does a stupid run down the hall.
Yeah, then he does a stupid run down the hall. After he poked a man in the eye. Down the hallway.
Yep. I mean, yeah, honestly.
Which somehow leads us to him coming back with a bunch of dangerous weapons. He is a weird, deranged Santa Claus?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
So, yeah, he was going to escape by breaking one of the windows in, like, the greenhouse. Or
the conservatory.
The conservatory. There you go. And he doesn't because one of the dogs comes up and is, like, snarling and everything. So then he just kind of admits defeat, goes back, but then brings out his present weapons and is like, okay, one of you should kill Wadsworth because he's the one who's actually blackmailing you. If this was his plan the whole time, why was he running? Just
right.
And this is what I mean. You thought that you had to give them all aliases, like make up a reason for the color names to make this believable. I don't even know where we are anymore. I don't know why.
Yeah.
What? How? It wasn't the color names that was gonna trip me up here.
No, yeah. He literally, those of you who haven't seen it, gives everyone a black gift box with a black bow, and they all have different weapons in it. And I think the idea here, I think Body is still the one that we think is blackmailing him, but he says that Wadsworth's the only one who knows. He's the one that wants to air everyone's, because Wadsworth is the good character here. He's making everyone come clean. That's why he brought them together, but also to tell them about, Mr. Body. But Body's like, well, kill him. I'll keep your secrets. And I'm assuming he still gets the blackmailing money. That makes sense. But, like, no one's dirty laundry is getting aired. They just have to keep on paying Body if they kill the butler, who is the only one that's trying to tell them, well, this guy's bribing you. Do you want to stop being bribed or what?
Right.
Which is already kind of confusing.
Yeah. And this is where I just accepted that, like, especially with the bit that we get from Wadsworth in a couple minutes, I just went with it. I wasn't really trying to, like, figure anything out or solve anything. I was just like, just give me your quippy lines and I'll just go with it.
Yeah, from this point on, it's now Clue the Ride, and I'm just here for it.
Right. Yeah. And that's fine. And the thing is, like, it's funny enough that I'm fine with it.
Oh, yeah.
But again, gotta make it more realistic by making the color names aliases. This is when the lights go out. We hear a bunch of, scuffling and a gunshot. Lights come back on and Mr. Body has died. Again, having not seen this in a very, very long time, I was like, he doesn't even have a wound. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, he's laying face down, arms straight on his side, legs straight back. Nothing crazy. He's not splayed out. He's not starfishing. He's just...
Yeah, he's just on the floor.
Yeah, just like kind of planking.
Yeah, planking. But I love the sequence we get with Mrs. Peacock, because she's the one that turns the light on. And she's like, oh my God, I need a drink. Reaches for the nearest glass of brandy, drinks it. And then someone suggests it could be poisoned and that's how he died. And she just starts screaming. And Mr. Green ends up slapping her just to get her to calm down. And I do like how everyone kind of gives him a look like, oh my God. And he's like, what? I had to do something to calm her down. I also love when they say something about, how do we know if it's poisoned? And Mr. Green starts to say, like, well, we'll watch Mrs. Peacock. And they all come in really close and crowd her. And they all stare at her up close as if they wouldn't be able to see from across the room if she dropped it.
Right.
It was
Maybe
great.
They're looking for early signs of poisoning. I don't know. Like she's going to foam at the mouth or something.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, Michael McKean had a really great time working with Eileen Brennan, who plays Mrs. Peacock. He had a lot of quotes in the interviews I read where he just was saying all these nice things about what a wonderful person she was, what a wonderful actress she was. And he mentioned this scene in particular where he has to slap her, that he did make like very light contact with her, but he said it was all her making it look believable, like the way she moved her head.
Nice.
I wanted to point out, however, that this was apparently Eileen Brennan's first role after she had actually gone to rehab for a painkiller addiction, but she was on the painkillers because she had gotten in this really bad car accident where I believe they said her legs and her pelvis were all shattered. It was really awful injuries. One of her eyes came out of its socket. Yeah, so it was such severe injuries that I could understand, like, obviously when she was on painkillers. Mm-hmm. And then she had to go to rehab for the addiction. And then this was her first job after that. And she felt like she was kind of getting back on her feet. And from how, like, glowingly Michael McKean talked about her, it was like she had never left. Or she had never had a physical injury or anything, which is funny when you think of how physical some of this comedy is.
I was just going to say, like, oh, yeah, she did a really good job. She rehabbed really well from her eyeball being out of her face. Then I got to slap her.
Yeah. But he has all these quotes where he's like, she was the most wonderful woman. It's like, okay. But they do have a lot of scenes together. So
they do, yeah.
Yeah. this is where we get Wadsworth explaining that he is Mr. Body's butler, but now he's his former butler, and that he had a wife, and he was the one who sent the letters to bring them all here, and he and his wife were working as unpaid labor for Mr. Body because he considered Wadsworth's wife un-American, which also, the idea of this, like, guy that we just saw, like, not being able to sit properly, thinking anyone's like being like, you're not patriotic enough or something. Like, it just, this did not fit with the character I had just seen, I guess. I could see him taking advantage of people and blackmailing people, absolutely. But being like, I think your friends are commies. Like, I just don't see that. But also, Wadsworth gives us a lot of information. I have no idea if any of it is actually true.
That's a good point. I don't know if any of it's true, but he uses that information, true or otherwise, to help the guests side with him, because they were all kind of about to maybe murder him, possibly.
Or think he was the murderer. Yeah.
Right.
Or now maybe think he's the murderer, yeah.
Right, yes. But he basically is like, I'm one of you. I was also being well, my wife is being blackmailed, and she took her life, and so I also want him gone. So we all have a motive.
Yep.
So I'm one of you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did like his line where he said, for some reason, he felt it was inappropriate for a senator to have a corrupt wife, for a doctor to take advantage of his patients. And he says something else about for a wife to emasculate her husband, which, like, one of these things is not like the other, in my opinion. But I just thought it was...
1954.
I know. I had to remind myself of that. But I just thought that was such a funny line, especially the, like, for some reason he felt it was inappropriate for a doctor to molest his patients.
Right. Jesus Christ.
He also says that Mr. Body decided to put his information to good use and make a little money out of it. What could be more American than that? And they cut to Mrs. Peacock just being like, yeah. Like, her face is great.
Yeah. It's true, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Things escalate. I think Yvette screams. They go see her in the billiard room. She's recording this conversation, so she's hearing it all. And so she explains that, and she screamed because she also doesn't want to die.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure out who else could have done it, blah, 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 blah. Who else is in the mansion? The cook. Go to the kitchen. Cook's not there. Mr. Green leans on some sort of pantry cabinet or whatever, maybe like an ice box, I think it is. And that's when the cook, falls out with a knife in her back.
Yep. I love him yelling, I didn't do it, as he catches her body.
Right, yes. I noticed in this watch, while she's also doing the Mr. Body face down on the floor routine, the knife is in her back, obviously, and 2 or 3 guests are huddled around her, kneeling down. And Mustard says, nobody touch anything, it's evidence. And he then immediately grabs the handle of the knife.
Yeah.
And a couple other times in the movie, because these bodies are they move them around room to room or whatever, he's always touching the handle of the knife. And I kept noticing that this watch, trying to think if maybe he was the murderer, at least of the cook, and he was just putting his fingerprints all over the knife and using that as an excuse to why his fingerprints were on it to begin with.
Oh, I didn't even get that far. I just thought he was stupid.
Well, I'll tell everyone right now, I overthought that one.
Yeah.
It's just like, it was a very obvious movement when he said no one touched anything and he grabs a knife. I'm like, okay, is that supposed to be funny? Because it is. Or am I supposed to be paying attention?
Yeah, I didn't even catch that until I went back to look at some things again after doing the research. And I saw your note about this. I assume it's just more the screwball kind of stuff.
Yeah. So they take the dead body, the cook's body, into the study just to keep them with the other bodies. I don't know why. Peacock is flustered, as one should be when corpses start piling up, and she asks where the bathroom is, like, what's down the hall. Like, she confirms it, I think. She doesn't ask. She confirms where it is with Yvette. And Yvette says, who, by the way, she's supposed to be French in this movie. I don't know if you mentioned Yvette's a French maid.
Yeah.
So, of course, she says, oui, oui, madame. And Peacock goes, no, I just have to powder my nose. So dumb. I love it.
I know.
That's a joke that I probably laughed a lot harder when I was like 8 or 9. Still funny now.
It made me think of something that would be in a Mel Brooks movie, because I always think of Madeline Kahn being in like Young Frankenstein, because I watched that a lot as a kid. I think it was just on like Turner Classic Movies a lot. Yeah, so poor Mrs. Peacock, because she leaves to go to the bathroom, ends up opening the door and has Mr. Body fall on her, except now he has a bloody head injury. She's screaming again. Everyone runs out in the hall and sees him. They're both kind of like standing because he's just fallen straight on her, and they're like, he's attacking her, and they're like, no, he's dead. Like, he's dead again.
Yeah.
But it is obvious that he has some new injury, because he had no injury at all before. But yeah, poor Mrs. Peacock. And then when Mr. Body falls to the ground, Mr. Green kind of tries to catch him and doesn't do a good job. And Mrs. White tells him that he has blood on his hands, because he literally does from trying to catch the body. And again, he yells, I didn't do it.
Yeah, I like how everyone has this thing that they keep repeating over the course of the film. I guess we didn't mention that it's Plum that checked Mr. Body's body originally when he was just planking. Mm-hmm. He's like, he's dead, and they flip him over, and only he seems to be touching him, checking for a pulse. Like, obviously he did a bad job because he's dead again. Someone obviously bashed him over the head and hit him in the bathroom or whatever.
Yeah.
Both when the cook and Body fall forward on whoever is catching them, especially with the cook coming out of like this icebox pantry situation, I immediately thought of the Goonies and like, oh, it's a stiff.
Yeah, that's a good point. So this is where Wadsworth is like yelling at them to calm down or something. And the candlestick is on I think the door frame of the bathroom. It ends up falling on him and hitting him.
Yeah.
And then they immediately cut to everyone dragging a body into the study. I thought Wadsworth had died from the candlestick hitting him. Because again, haven't seen this in an extremely long time.
That's fair.
And immediately they cut to a body. They show Wadsworth like falling over from getting knocked on the head.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a little surprised when then Wadsworth is just one of the people carrying the body. Like, he's fine, I guess, now.
He's like holding an ice pack or something on his head, but...
fair.
Thinking about it now, and thinking about what's happening later in the movie, it does cut to black when he hits his head. This is maybe our producers, directors, screenwriters, whoever, are they letting us know that this is his story? This is his point of view? Because we don't cut to black any other time when someone else gets injured or hurt. But when Wadsworth takes a bump on the noggin.
Yeah. Interesting. So this is when we have a guy show up whose car is broken down. He wants to use the phone. They all answer the door, and like, I love this because Wadsworth is trying to... He can't come up with a good reason for the guy to not use the phone, right? But they don't want him to come in and see the bodies, but they also don't want to sound suspicious. And he goes, there's nobody in the study. As a way to say that he can use the phone in the study. But also, as soon as the guy gets in there and they shut the door, he knows, like, he sees and hears them locking him in, which is so creepy to me. And also, like, who thought that was a good idea?
Yeah. I think he is in the lounge because he can't go to the study. Yeah, it's the lounge because there's a secret passage.
Yeah, that's where they end up putting him. And then at one point, Colonel Mustard walks by and he pops his head in the room with the bodies. And he's like, just checking. Yep, 2 corpses. Everything's fine.
Well, one moved already, so you got to double check.
That's true, yes.
But that's a good line. Good delivery, too.
Yeah.
There's a back and forth between Wadsworth and Mustard, and I wrote, very who's on first.
Mustard's asking, is there anyone else in the house? But he's asking it in a way that you could say yes or no and mean both. I get the confusion at first, but there's like a lot of double negatives going on.
And he asks like 2 questions at once, and so he has to answer them appropriately because Wadsworth... His lines are kind of very literal, but also very silly. He skirts around things, I think, purposefully. But then when he asks him, like, are you sure? He goes, yes. So there's no one in the house? No. No, are you sure? Yeah, it's like, again, back and forth.
Yeah, I love this when Colonel Mustard decides that they should all pair up and search the house. Mrs. Peacock says something about, you know, one of us is the murderer, and then whoever gets paired with the murderer could be murdered. And Colonel Mustard's response is, "This is war, Peacock."
Yeah.
And basically saying someone's going to have to take one for the team. Someone's going to end up being with the murderer. Although it killed me when we see Wadsworth cutting matches to various lengths, because that's how they're going to pair up. They'll draw straws, basically. But the way everyone gets so close to each other and puts their matches like right next to the other person's match to see whose lines up with who, and it's like, some of these matches are huge and some of them are teeny tiny. We can tell, like we can see.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sure you can see.
Yeah. Christopher Lloyd in the scene, he's like, he gets his kind of first, and his is the tiniest. It's like maybe an inch, and he's going up to everybody. And then towards the end of him going around, he's trying to go up to someone whose match is not cut. It's a full like foot length. And he like takes his teeny tiny match and has to put it next to it. Like, sir. Really? You couldn't tell? You couldn't tell that wasn't the right size?
You could tell that from across the room. Like,
right.
Yeah. I imagine some of this was being done for camera, but it was still...
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
I do like the logic, though, where we're in pairs, and, well, if someone's the murderer, one of us can be murdered. Then we'll know who the murderer is.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I like the assumption, though, that the murderer is just going to keep murdering, like, can't help themselves.
Right.
Like, none of this is like planned or revenge or anything. It's just like they're gonna keep on murdering.
Right.
I'm a butler. I buttle.
When they're all in pairs, we see parts of the house that we don't get to see because two go to the cellar, two go to the attic, or whatever. And I love the physical comedy with these pairings because everyone's now suspects. Everyone is suspicious. No one trusts anybody. And there's a lot of tight spaces, and someone has to be the first one to go, and that could potentially put the murderer either in front of you without any way to protect yourself, or more importantly, behind you, your partner. There's a lot of instances where these pairs are trying to squeeze into tight spaces together.
Yeah, because they don't trust each other.
Yeah. Scarlet and Mustard are on the ground floor, the main floor we see, and I think they're in one of the rooms with a bar. I think the ballroom, it doesn't matter, and they're both behind the bar looking under things, and they're trying to squeeze out of the bar at the same time. Mm-hmm. Was she in the corset dress at this time? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah. Because they do a lot of that, Scarlet and Mustard in particular.
Yeah. Yvette and Green have to go up to the third or fourth floor, I don't know. They're upstairs.
It looks like they're walking up to an attic.
That's what I think, yeah.
Yeah.
And they go at the same time. It's a very narrow staircase.
Yeah, I liked all this a lot because it's reasonable, because you don't know who the murderer is. There's been more than one murder at this point. You can't exactly trust your partner, but like the solution is that you're just gonna like squish each other into every opening you go through. Like as a grown adult. Plum and Peacock are paired together, and at one point Professor Plum says, "What are you scared of? A fate worse than death?" And Mrs. Peacock says, "No, just death. Isn't that enough?"
Yeah.
Like, I feel you, Mrs. Peacock.
Right.
But this is where we see just like a gloved hand burning a bunch of evidence, including the recording that Yvette was making in the beginning, and unlocking the cabinet that has all the weapons. So we cut back to the guy whose car is broken down. He is on the phone saying, "One of these people is my old boss from," and then as soon as he says that line, he's hit in the head with the wrench. I guess I thought there was going to be more, like something more interesting that comes of that, and it's kind of not. Well, I guess like Colonel Mustard ends up being his boss in one of the endings.
Right.
Like that guy was his driver or something.
Well, yes, he was his driver during the war, Peacock. I think it's to add another body, because the murderer is murdering compulsively, maybe, who knows.
Yeah.
Add another layer of suspicion because he knows one of them. There's more connectivity with all these characters what's going on
Right.
here. This guy randomly, wink, wink, shows up during their murder party. And then, one of the endings later, it's revealed a little bit more in depth, but I think this scene works because you're also thinking who got away from their partner, because we see everyone paired up.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
This is where I'm starting to think, I gotta rewatch this movie, and like, instead of take notes for the podcast, pause it and go, A is with B, C is like, and really try to see if it matches up. Not that I think it matters because it works for me as a comedy, but as like the murder mystery, like, does it actually make sense, or are we just supposed to be here for the fun?
Yeah, so I'm the same way in terms of watching it. Like, I'm just along for the ride. It's funny. I'm having a good time. I don't necessarily care if everything lines up perfectly with the explanation, which is funny because that's part of the explanation for murder by death, that who cares? You just make up stuff as you go along. But someone had made a color-coded, I guess, map of the house, like of the set, showing where each person was for each ending and how it would actually work.
Oh.
Yes, I didn't take too hard of a look at it to, see how everything worked out, because again, I personally don't care too much. But apparently when John Landis told Jonathan Lynn what his parameters were for working on the script, he said the 4 endings had to actually be plausible in terms of where you see each character when, and like what rooms are there, what secret passages are there, whatever. So according to Lynn and Landis, they do actually work.
And that's the only reason why I think I'm curious. I don't say care, because I don't. It's enjoyable as it is, but learning that where they wrote it to make sense. Now I'm like, well,
yeah,
I kind of want to rewatch it with a different
yeah.
set of eyes,
Right. And there were already things I noticed so much more going back and rewatching some of the scenes that I had to just for this episode. So definitely something I think that would reward repeat viewings. Like, maybe I should watch it more than twice in my entire life. So at some point, Mustard and who is he paired with? Scarlet, right? They find a secret passage and they're scared to go in it. And it's so funny because my first thought was, I would just go in there and hide. Like, I would have no hesitation, because I'd be like, yes, put me in the secret passage until all this blows over. I will hide from whoever the murderer is. But they both hesitate, and then Mustard says, what the hell? I'll go first. I've had a good life. And the way he delivers this line is very funny, but also I think this is the first time in the movie anyone has volunteered for anything. Because we keep seeing everyone being too scared to do anything, not wanting to put themselves out there or be vulnerable, and he just charges right in.
If I'm not mistaken, this is the second passage they find, because the first one was from the kitchen to the study, and they were both hesitant to go through, and they come out through into the study, and they both like, we're back in this room again. This is the one that leads them to the lounge where they find the dead driver. And I think, I don't know, maybe all of a sudden he's feeling chivalrous, but the first time it was like they were kind of hemming and hawing. So I did find it funny that he just finally succumbs to the idea that he could be murdered.
Yeah, that's a good point if this is the second one. I honestly don't remember. Again, a lot of passages are found. It all glazed over, like, just...
Fair enough. Well, as I said, they find the dead driver, and of course they scream. I found it funny that it took forever for them to find the dead driver. They come in through the secret passage, like, I think the fireplace mantle situation spins.
Oh, yes.
I know we, the viewer, see him on the foreground of the screen, but like, there's nothing in front of him. He's not behind a couch or anything, and they're just like looking around in the air, and then I'm like, why is this taking forever for them to see the dead body?
That's a good point, yeah.
Obviously, building tension. I get it, but it's also kind of annoying when it's like, this is an obvious thing to see. They scream. They have reaction shots of people in random parts of the house, and everyone comes running in. At one point, Green and Wadsworth turn a corner on the stairwell or whatever and like crash right into each other. And I don't know if this is something that does happen in Home Alone 2 or not, or if I'm making this up because it's Tim Curry in a similar role.
Yeah.
yeah, when the way they hit each other and they go flaying in the air and they land on their backs and whatever, it just reminded me of Home Alone 2. I feel like there's something that happens in the hotel Kevin's staying at, and it's Tim Curry, only instead of Mr. Green, it's Rob Schneider, and they crash into each other. But I don't know if I'm 100% on that. Either way, it made me think of that, whether I'm right or wrong.
Forgot that Rob Schneider was in things. So I thought actually of the first Home Alone because, and I think for me it's because their legs fly up, which you have said. But do you remember when we were doing that episode, there was a thing about what got to be called the Home Alone fall?
Yeah.
And so so that's what I thought of. So this leads us to our first instance of a chandelier falling, because in order to it's Mustard and Scarlet that are locked in.
Correct.
In order to get them out of the locked room, no one has a key anymore. I don't remember what happened to what key where. Yvette goes to where the weapons are supposed to be locked up, gets the gun, and in her trying to shoot the doorknob open, I think someone tries to take the gun from her at one point, and she shoots up and it hits the rope holding the chandelier.
Something like that. I thought that they were in the way and she shot to get their attention to move away from the door so she can shoot at it.
Oh, it could have been that.
Something like that. It's all very chaotic, yeah.
Somehow one of the bullets ends up hitting the rope. And we know as viewers that the rope is coming undone and the chandelier is about to fall. And I thought this was so fun because we get some shots from above where we can see who's in the way of the chandelier, and then characters will move. And at one point, Mustard even moves Yvette out of the way for not even because of the chandelier. He just physically moves her over. So then she was in the path of the chandelier. Now it's him. And he says something like, "I can't handle any more scares." And then the chandelier falls behind him. Apparently, Jonathan Lynn was not happy with this scene. He said that he screwed up because he was scared that there would be an accident. His quote is, "It should have only just missed them, and it misses them by quite a bit. But that was me not having the nerve or the confidence to trust the stunt coordinator." But also, at this time, I forgot that Jonathan Landis was the director of the Twilight Zone movie, which is the set where a helicopter crashed during a scene and it killed two of the actors on set, while they were filming a scene. And it's cited as one of the, as an example of one of the big accidents that have happened on film sets. I feel like it always it's put up there with when Brandon Lee got shot on the set of The Crow.
Right.
That was John Landis. That happened in 1983. Jonathan Lynn said the last thing in the world that could have happened on this picture with him as the producer could have been an accident on the set. So I was being very, very cautious. However, on the flip side of things, apparently the stunt coordinator kept screwing with Martin Mull, who plays Colonel Mustard, by pretending to be drunk every time they set up this shot. And the actor, Martin Mull, said the guy would slur and be like, "Oh, yeah, it's good, it's up there. Yeah, stand over here, that's fine." And they were just messing with him the whole time.
That's fucked up, but hilarious.
Yep. I know, it is kind of fucked up. But this is when the cop shows up. Green goes to open the door, and everyone yells, "Why?" Because he says something like, "I'll get it," and they all yell, "Why?" Again, I love Wadsworth trying to explain to the cop which phone he could actually use. Because he's like, "Oh, nope. This one, nope." And of course, every time this happens, everyone is crowded around. And they all whisper to each other. It's very funny.
As Wadsworth is taking the cop through the house to get to one of the phones with a room without a body, some of the other characters are closing doors and standing in the hallway, feigning a pipe smoking, checking the time or whatever, so the cop can't peek in and see, bodies everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be suspicious from jump. What do you... Get out of the house, man.
Of course, yeah. And adding to all this, when they finally let the cop into whatever room he is allowed to make a phone call, they lock him in.
Right.
But then he almost immediately tells them to let him out because J. Edgar Hoover is on the phone.
He uses the phone to call whatever, and the door gets locked, and he notices, so he's like, oh, I gotta go, something's weird here, and he hangs up. Then the phone rings, and he picks it up. I guess maybe he's thinking it's whoever he called, dispatch, I don't know. But he's like, you gotta let me out. Hoover's on the phone. I'm like, what?
Yes.
How about let me out? I'm a police officer.
Well, and he says something like, why is J. Edgar Hoover on your phone? And Wadsworth says, he's on everyone else's. Why shouldn't he be on mine?
Yeah, I did love that.
This is when the cop eventually asks to check out the house. And I think it's Mr. Green that takes him around, and he goes, I'll show him the kitchen and this and that. And it's very specific rooms that like don't have bodies in it. Mm-hmm. But then they have some of the people pretend they're making out with the dead bodies so that the cop can't tell they're dead. And while icky, I did think it was very funny how the people were like moving the arms of the bodies.
Yeah.
And making it all look like they were actually moving. But then I love the cop being like, it's not all that shocking. These folks are just having a good time.
Yeah. They take the driver and they cover his busted up head with his hat, and they pour booze in his mouth, and he just looks like he's passed out drunk.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the cop's like, this man's dead drunk. And Plum's like, you're dead right. And just like always like dead puns. I'm like, oh my God, this is great.
Yep. So they go back to, searching the house, like teaming up and searching the house. The cop goes to finally make his phone call. I laugh so hard when Mustard's in the kitchen and he opens what ends up being like the little cabinet to put the ironing board in. He's almost like sneaking up on it and then opens it really fast to, try to not give it away that he's opening that cabinet door. And the iron just bonks him on the head.
Yeah.
And I don't know why this got me so much, but it looks like such a silly injury, I think. And then it looks like he's really hurt, too. He's very shocked and in pain.
Yeah. It was almost like he was trying to, like, get the best of the would-be murderer hiding or something.
Yes.
And it was...
surely they're hiding in there.
Yeah. It's very Looney Tunes.
Yeah. So the lights go out again. This is when Yvette is killed. But before she's killed, she's having a conversation with someone. Like, she knows one of these people, and she drops her French accent.
Yeah.
So we know she's been pretending for some reason, and then she thinks she's maybe working with this person, and they end up killing her because she says, oh God, it's you, or something, when the rope gets put around her neck.
Yeah, I believe she thinks she's talking to somebody else because the lights are out. She's like, I did what I was supposed to do, blah, 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 a little bit of plot, no accent. And then she's startled that whoever she thought she was talking to is not who it is. And then she gets murdered.
See, I thought she was startled because whoever she is talking to, who she thinks she can trust, is actually the murderer.
But then why would she say, oh God, it's you?
Like, it's you, you're the murderer.
Oh, maybe. I thought it was like she thought she was talking to a different person, and this person she already knew she had bad blood with, kind of like the driver who didn't get to finish his line.
That's interesting. We'll never know now. But the cop is also killed, of course, before he can, like, say anything on the phone. He starts saying, like, I'm at that weird house.
The Hill House.
The Hill House, yeah.
This is when there's a knock on the door. And they answer the door, which is sometimes locked, sometimes not. This is the front door. And there's just, like, the singing telegram lady. And just gets shot, and the door slams shut. And if you don't laugh at this scene, check your pulse.
First of all, why is
exactly
this singing telegram?
That's why it's funny.
Yeah. Just so random, and it's over so fast.
Yeah.
This is Jane Weedland from the Go-Go's.
Oh.
Their guitarist. This was her first film role.
You know what? She moved a lot better than the guy from Fear. She can sing,
yeah,
she can dance.
But can she run?
Now with a bullet in her belly.
Jesus.
The fact that a random singing telegram person shows up as they keep getting more guests on accident,
yeah,
supposedly, is funny enough as it is, and then the fact that the reaction is just a murdered, because, you know, I think the joke here is these people are annoying.
Yeah.
It's like joking about mimes being annoying, I think.
Yes, that's what it reminded me of. So after the lights come back on and, you know, they all regroup, I think it might be Mustard, but someone says this is getting serious because now there are 6 dead bodies, as if any number of dead bodies wasn't serious.
Right.
I also thought it was funny how, like, no one seems to care at all that the maid is dead. Like, they just look and then just all turn around and walk out of the room. They seem a lot more concerned about the cop being dead.
I think at this point, 'cause they find the cop first, I believe, and then they find Yvette. The feeling I got, again, for comical purposes, is they are just, yep, another dead body. Well, business as usual tonight. Like, that's kind of the vibe I got. Oh, well,
okay.
Things are picking up. So Wadsworth is, I guess, smarter than everybody else, and he knows who the real murderer was. Yeah, so this is Tim Curry just being manic. It's amazing. He goes to explain who he knows is the murderer and how he knows, instead of just maybe giving, like, a monologue.
Yeah.
He's reenacting the entire movie all by himself.
Yes.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mentioned watching this with Tom, but my wife was also watching this with us, and she's never seen it before. And
oh, wow, okay.
As it was happening, she says, this man is carrying the entire plot.
Yep.
And then Tom goes, this is peak Tim Curry. This is why he was cast.
It wasn't why he was cast, apparently, because he was the third choice, but imagine that he was the third choice, and look at this.
Yeah.
I laughed so hard when he reenacts them finding the cook's body, because he runs the opposite way. They all go to the kitchen. He goes through, like, a secret passage, probably.
Yes.
And they open the pantry or whatever that they had found the maid in, and he falls out just like he's the dead maid, and then they cut to him laying flat on the floor, excitedly continuing. Like, he almost has, like, jazz hands while he's talking, but he's laying on the floor because he just had to act out being a dead body.
Right.
That might be my favorite part of the whole movie.
I mean, this whole part is my favorite part of the movie, where he's just going through the entire movie, telling everyone what happened and how he's explaining it, and they're just running back and forth and back and forth. At some point, I think it's towards the end of the first ending, they're in the hallway, and before it is revealed, Mustard asks him a question, and he goes to explain to Mustard why. Wadsworth asks Mustard, can you keep a secret? He says yes. Wadsworth says, so can I, and walks away. Which is great because, A, it's funny. The comic timing is great. But in a story where everyone's being blackmailed for leaking secrets and having secrets on top of somebody else and all that, he's the one character that, presumably, at this point at least, can keep one.
Apparently, during all this, Wadsworth says that he invited the motorist, which I assume is the guy whose car broke down.
Yes.
And he says, of course, it's obvious. And I was like, is it? Like, what's happening? Because, again, I'm just along for the ride. He's talking so fast and moving so fast. But, this is when he says that the guy whose car broke down was Mustard's driver during the war. And he says the cop was on Miss Scarlett's payroll.
Mm-hmm.
And that the singing telegram girl was Mr. Plum's patient who he had an affair with that resulted in him losing his license. And this is when Wadsworth says, let's put them in this study with the others.
Yeah.
And then in the middle of all this is when the evangelical, for lack of a better word, shows up at the door. Like, do you want to hear about Jesus and how to get to heaven? And which I was like, that's a very odd little interruption. Wadsworth turns out the lights again while acting everything out. And he says, sorry, didn't mean to frighten you. And Mr. Green says, it's a bit late for that. And White just lets out this weird sound like...
Yeah, she's
like belatedly scared.
Yeah. She's very stoic for being scared.
Yes, it is like a stoic scaredness. So this leads us to our first ending, which is Miss Scarlett being behind everything. She says, communism is just a red herring. Like all members of the world's oldest profession, I'm a capitalist.
Mm-hmm. I want to go back for a second with the evangelicist at the door. Mm-hmm. At this point, if I was the guest, after Wadsworth said, I invited this guy. He's this person. I invited this person. Wouldn't you be suspicious of this guy?
Oh, yeah. Yes,
and
I would.
The back and forth with him and Peacock is pretty good. You're like, oh, I gotta warn you about hell. She's like, we're living in hell right now, or whatever. And like,
yeah.
She just keeps getting louder and crazier and belligerent.
Yes, that is a good point, though. I'd be like, okay, so who's this guy now that you probably invited here yourself?
Right. Before the cops come in, Scarlett has the gun because Wadsworth is like, well, let's prove. I can prove who it is, whoever has the gun, who is now missing. So he said, well, it's missing, whoever has it, because obviously they shot that poor telegram lady.
Yeah.
Whoever has the gun is the murderer. And turns out Scarlett had it in her purse. And she threatens Wadsworth. And it is a 6-shooter. So they have this argument about, I'm going to call it bullet math here. So Wadsworth's like, I'm not afraid of you. You can't kill me. There's no bullets in this gun. Yes, there is. And he goes on to count how many shots there were. And she counts how many shots there were. And one's got 5, one's got 6. But it's a back and forth for... In a normal movie, might be too long. I think it's perfect in this one, and it's hilarious, and it's very quick. And you, as the viewer, you can't keep up. I'm like, wait, is that 8? Did he say 8? How did he get to 8?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
1 + 2 + 2 + 1.
No, it's 1 + 1 + 2 + 1 + 1. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's when the God guy comes back in and turns out to be the sheriff or cop or
God guy.
Yeah.
I do like when they're finally arresting her and Wadsworth says, frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a damn.
Yeah, I like that too.
All right. I have a quote from Tim Curry. He said, I was exhausted at the end of the movie. I actually had a sort of incident of high blood pressure towards the end when all of the conclusions were happening because I was running around like a mad person. They took me to the doctor and I had to take pills for a week. My blood pressure was so high, which was very tiresome. But poor Tim Curry, because we're not actually done. Because now, but how about this? Yeah, more running. But how about this? Our second ending, or our second explanation is that Mrs. Peacock murdered everyone. Don't quite remember why. I think because she didn't want to be exposed as bribing people for her senator husband.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, actually.
But in this ending, the evangelical is still like a cop or part of the FBI, whichever. But in this ending, Wadsworth works for the FBI.
Yeah, because it was Hoover on the phone for real, because he does work for him.
Yes.
He mentions in this ending, maybe even the first one, I can't keep track actually, that he was suspicious of Peacock because, as you mentioned earlier, that she mentioned earlier, it was one of her favorite dishes, and they talk about monkey brains being a delicacy in Cantonese cuisine. So he's like, oh, well, how would you know that? Because the cook used to work for her or whatever, and she made that before. I don't know.
We see them eat some of it, but it honestly looks like they're eating Cool Whip. They're eating... Some people it looks like Cool Whip. Some people it looks like it could be mashed potatoes. I guess I don't know what monkey brains would look like. They're eating like a white blob, and I would have never called that monkey brains.
Yeah, maybe I thought they were still eating soup, and some of them had chowder and some didn't. I don't know what I thought.
It was odd. Yeah, if you go back and look, it definitely just looks like Cool Whip.
It's weird though that they mention this because was this a thing in the 80s to eat monkey brains? Because I'm fairly confident that it was also in Indiana Jones.
So I saw your note on this. I feel like there was so much weird cultural insensitivity specifically around Asian cultures in the 80s. Because we've seen this a lot in other movies too, like Gremlins. Not even so much about the food in particular, just weird stereotypes.
Like to get a gremlin, you got to go to Asian Town because they have weird stuff.
Kinda, yeah. Because they're weird and different, and they do things differently, like that kind of a thing. But after this ending, but here's what really happened. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really fully understand this last ending because it's like everyone kind of killed someone.
Yes.
And Mr. Green ends up being an informant for the FBI.
Yes.
However, what is important about this ending is that this is when Mrs. White, Madeline Kahn, has her speech about the flames.
Everyone's probably seen the meme, the gif, the whatever, where she's doing the flame thing coming out of her face with her hands. it's like the very end of the movie, I thought I either missed taking notes or it is a false memory that maybe that was from a different movie and not this movie, and it just...
Yeah.
I was kind of getting paranoid at this point.
From what I remember, this is set up by whoever, Wadsworth Green, I don't remember who, telling her that, like, saying that she killed Yvette. Mm-hmm. Because Yvette had had an affair with one of her husbands.
Yes.
And she couldn't get over it. And it's funny because earlier in the movie, someone says that Yvette slept with one of her husbands. She's like, yeah, I knew about it. I don't care. But I have some quotes about this because this is the only part of the movie that was improvised because Jonathan Lynn would not let anyone improv lines because, like, he had worked so hard on the script. Like, I kind of get it. But so this is from Michael McKean. All that was written was, I hated her so much that I wanted to kill her, or something like that, says McKean, still smiling from the memory. But she just kind of went into a fugue about hatred. She did it 3 or 4 times, and each time was funnier than the last. I thought that they could have strung a bunch of them together because they had plenty of cutaways of all of us going, what the fuck is she talking about? Tim Curry said, I think Jonathan was very uncertain about it. It was very, very funny and hard not to laugh. Jonathan Lynn, our director. Madeline Kahn is wonderfully crazy. She was very inventive in the way she played her character. She came to me before we did the shot and said, do you mind if I improv something here? I said, not at all, but I still want to shoot what's in the script just in case. Leslie Ann Warren, who plays Miss Scarlet. We were laughing our heads off. It was priceless. Her delivery is so unique. I don't know anybody else that has her particular quality and comedic delivery. I've always said this group of actors were some of the very best comedic actors, and that's what made it so special. Colleen Camp, who played Yvette, said everyone applauded. She was beyond brilliant. Michael McKean, Mr. Green. What you're seeing is the second pass. The first one is the same and hysterically funny, but we all just lost it, and she broke too, I think. In take 2, we were prepared. It was supposed to be just, yes, I hated her. That was the whole line. But she went off on this thing about the flames. And then Jonathan Lynn said it made him laugh so much that he didn't bother to ever shoot the lines that he had written in the script.
Nice.
But that brings us to, like I said, this third last ending, the ending where everyone has killed at least one person, it seems. Mr. Green, like I said, turns out to be an FBI informant, but also not gay, which is the information that the blackmailer was using against him, that if he was exposed as a homosexual, he would lose his job and whatnot. So the last line of the whole movie is Mr. Green walking out the door saying, I'm going home to sleep with my wife.
Yeah. They don't even make a big deal about him being gay. They do that one line.
Not at all.
Yeah, they make the one line in the study. He was gay in something else that wasn't that bad, but still kind of dirty. For him to be exposed, he'd lose his job. Mm-hmm. And then this ending, something being said about, like, someone being a vegetable, like, you know, comatose or whatever. And Scarlett goes, Don't they usually call you a fruit?
Yeah.
And Green's like, very funny.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I watched this through the first time for this episode, he says that line at the end. I'm like, well, that's a weird thing to say when you leave. And then I realized later, like, oh, he was supposed to be gay. And this is him saying, like, all of it was a front or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't even, like, catch that at first. So.
Also, his delivery is pretty great, too. It's just, like, very over the top. Like, I'm going home to sleep with my wife.
Yeah.
Freeze frame.
Yeah. Yes. He might have been my favorite character in this, and I think it's because it's Michael McKean. But did you know that when this was first released in theaters, you only got one of the endings?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I was explaining that to my wife when we were about to watch it, because she didn't watch it before, and I mentioned that when it was released, you didn't know what movie you're going to get, what ending you're going to get.
So I didn't realize that this is how it was originally released. Like I said earlier, there was conflicting quotes about whether it was John Landis's original idea or if this is what the studio was pushing.
Okay.
Jonathan Lynn, the director, said it was a big mistake to release it with separate endings because you only get the pleasure out of all the different endings if you see them all. There were supposed to be 4 originally, not 3. But Jonathan Lynn said it wasn't very good. I looked at it and I thought, no, we've got to get rid of that. So we cut that one. This is not confirmed by Lynn, but according to the internet, the fourth ending that was cut involves Wadsworth having committed all the murders. He reveals he poisoned the champagne, leaving no witnesses. The 6 guests die from the poisoned champagne. Officers arrive and take him away. He breaks out somehow, steals a police car, and is ultimately captured again because 3 police dogs lunge at him from the back seat.
That's too much.
Kind of a, yeah. Lynn said in one of the interviews I read that he doesn't remember what the fourth ending was. He just remembered getting to set and working on it and feeling like it didn't work or it wasn't good enough. And he even said something like, I know what's out there on the internet. I really don't know if that's the real fourth ending I had written or if it just is a kind of an urban legend that started somewhere. But like, if you look at the Wikipedia, this is considered the scrapped fourth ending.
Okay.
Tim Curry said that he remembers shooting part of an ending where Wadsworth kills everyone. And he said they thought it was too obvious that the butler did it, and that's why they cut it. Michael McKean said he remembers that the fourth ending involved most of the cast being chased by Dobermans, but he isn't sure if they completely shot that ending or abandoned it halfway through. Jonathan Lynn, for his part, says they never shot any of the fourth ending, from what he remembers.
Oh, 4 people at least remember that, so. I don't hate the fourth ending. I guess I don't hate the fact that Wadsworth committed all the murders.
Mm-hmm.
Because it could be obvious. I like that it is there. It takes a whole movie to get us there.
Mm-hmm.
But once he like escapes the arrest and drives in the cop car, and now it started to sound like one of the Pee Wee Herman movies where it's just like things escalate and it's silly. If he killed everybody and then poisoned them so there's no witnesses, great. But then like goes to leave and that same cop from every ending is there and they get him on the way out, I would have been fine with that. But like the rest of it, it's a little too much him escaping and the dog chasing.
Yeah, I guess I don't personally have an opinion about it because I feel like all of them are kind of silly in some way.
Sure.
But 4 seems like a lot. It's already kind of a lot to have 3.
Also, yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I kind of understand they're thinking about, wouldn't that be a fun trick to have a different ending depending on where you see the movie? However, whichever person actually came up with this idea, whether it was the studio or John Landis, whoever, they had thought it would mean that people would come back to see it more often because they would try to like see all the endings. And again, at a time when this was the only way you could see a movie, if this was ever going to work, it would be then, like before home video got bigger. However, that being said...
Well, not only home video, but think about just the internet at all. If they did this now and Cleveland had a different ending, Philadelphia, et cetera, or you never knew what movie you're going to get when you go into the theater. Like, oh, I got this ending. It would be ruined within the first opening weekend.
That's true,
So not even just the only way to see it would be in theaters, but God, it would spread like wildfire and it wouldn't work.
Yeah, and it's funny because you're saying that, and I always think of when... It was probably when a new Marvel movie would come out when they were still in like the first wave, and they would be like, please don't post spoilers, don't tell anyone, don't ruin it. And it's just such a funny thing that we have to like, I don't know, avoid our phones if there's, you know, an episode of TV you haven't gotten to watch yet or something.
Yeah, well, I find it funny that people go to a movie like, this is the plot to the movie I just watched. Like, what the fuck? Give me like a day to watch it. Christ.
Well, yeah, that too. Okay, so home video and later television broadcasts and streaming releases include all 3 endings shown in order, which is what we saw. How did you watch this, by the way?
Oh, for this?
Yes.
YouTube TV.
Okay, it was on Canopy, which is, if anyone doesn't know, a free streaming service you can get with a library card. You have, I don't know, 50 credits a month, and I think a movie is 1 or 2 credits. Like, there's no way I would ever use up all the credits each month, but Thank you, Public Library, for letting me watch Clue over and over again for this episode.
Yeah, I will say that app
free.
doesn't work on every device because I've tried to use it before and it wasn't working for me, unfortunately.
I know.
I tried to watch it on Pluto originally because I saw it was on that, which also is a free service.
So mostly I wanted to know if you own this on DVD or Blu-ray, because apparently you can choose in the menu for it to show one ending. And so you could have that experience of how it was shown in the theater. If you want to watch all three endings stitched together, which is what you and I both saw in streaming, it's called the home entertainment version.
Listen, the best part about this movie, and I like this movie a lot, is Tim Curry running around like a crazy person. Why would I not want to see that 3 times?
Yeah, and I actually thought this was how it was originally released, because I was like, well, it's like a board game. Your ending's going to change every time. That's how the game is. So I just thought this was a nod to that. And I was like, oh, that's fun and clever. And
yeah, it could be too. And it is fun and clever. But for marketing, it's not the worst idea, especially for the time period.
Right.
To get more people in there. Because how do you fluff the box office? Make them go see it 3 times. If they're lucky 3 times. If you're lucky enough to get every ending when you go to the movie, you could get the same ending 3 times in a row. Like, shit, I gotta go again.
So we'll get into it. There were some things they tried to do to indicate to people like which ending they would get. So they could go see them all. But it didn't actually work. Before we move on to how it did at the box office, which ending is your favorite?
I think I like the last one the best. I like that everyone kills somebody. I don't know why. It just seems more plausible than one person sneaking around killing everybody. The second one's my least favorite. I like Green being innocent because, as he says at the very end, that I told you I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And it kind of harps on that funny line he keeps saying.
So this was actually going to be my answer for pretty much all the same reasons.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I like the idea that everyone committed a murder, like no one's hands are clean. I liked the reference back to Mr. Green's line, like you said. I also think I just ended up liking him so much as a character. I thought he was so funny all through the movie, and then to have him do a complete about face. That ridiculous last line about, I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife is so funny to me. So if that's not our ending, we wouldn't get that line. Yeah, this was my favorite. Mostly, I think, because I liked everyone being implicated in some way.
Yeah, and they all had motive, so it makes sense. It's funny because ending 1 and 2, they're both females, specifically. The way they were revealed is Wadsworth says, the gun's missing, gentlemen, turn out your pockets. Women, empty your purses. That gun's not fitting in anyone's suit pocket. So it was like, did they just make it a woman on both times because they take it out of their clutch?
Oh, that's an interesting point.
Or am I doing the thing where I'm just thinking too hard about it?
Probably thinking too hard.
Fair enough. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Did you know, and did you ever read, there were Scholastic Clue books?
I don't think I ever read them because I don't remember this. I don't think I knew about this.
I got them from the school library. I think I bought a few of them when I was a kid. They always had like a main story because they had like a series of this. This first one is Clue number 1: Who killed Mr. Body, and you can see it spelled with 2 D's. The last story.
But is it the lead singer from Fear?
At this point, who knows? It was several mysteries in the book. It wasn't just one big murder mystery, but the end was the title. That was the last story. But yeah, I remember having a handful of these. I read those with my Goosebump books. That was my collection as a kid. Murder mystery and horror.
So, poor Clue. It had a $15 million budget. It grossed $14.6 million, so didn't even quite make all its money back.
Oof.
Was considered a bomb, unfortunately. Mixed reviews with most critics. However, whenever I found actual quotes from critics, it was pretty much just negative. So I don't know how mixed they really were. A lot of people felt that the multiple endings were too gimmicky, complained that the later half of the movie is just characters running on a treadmill. Poor Tim Curry.
I like that part.
I know, it's the best part. What's
high
wrong
energy.
with these people? Yeah. I'm still imagining him laying on the floor, like, and then. Roger Ebert in particular had talked about how they were supposed to have like corresponding letters to the endings, like ABC, that would be assigned to like the newspaper runtimes for the movie. So you would know, at least if you were just a regular person going to the movies, that you're getting like a new ending that you hadn't seen before. And apparently they botched this somehow. Ebert said he had seen all three endings because when they screened it for critics, it was supposed to be all three. They botched some of the critic screenings to where some of them only got, one version over the other. Ebert saw all three, but he didn't know how to recommend which ending he thought was the best because Paramount messed up assigning the letters when they were trying to do the critic screening. So even critics who did see all three didn't know like which was the A ending, which was the B ending. Jonathan Lynn, our director, he blamed the film failing at the box office and not connecting with audiences at this marketing gimmick. Apparently that's how the rest of the cast feels too. Because not only was it something new, something different, they also kind of messed it up. Like we said, the critics were going to try to say, I liked this ending the best. But then if they said, I like the C ending, they didn't know if that was the one that really was going to be the C ending when they released it. Michael McKean said, they, being the audience, want to know that they're going to get the good ending. There was something overly complex about it. Do I have to see it 3 times? What if I get the same ending again? One other thing people pointed out that only, I guess, like a third of the people who went to see Clue saw Madeline Kahn's speech about the flames. Which, like, whatever I was reading, that person thought this was just a grave disservice.
I was going to say, that's, based on that alone, that's probably why the third ending is my favorite, besides the fact that, like, everyone's guilty. Oh, shit, yeah, you would miss the flames and the flames. And that sucks if you didn't get that. Yeah. That is the official good ending because of that.
That's a good point, yeah. This is another quote from Jonathan Lynn. This is where he says it was John Landis's idea to do the different endings at the theater. He thought that what would happen was that people, having enjoyed the film so much, would then go back and pay again to see the other endings. In reality, what happened is that the audience decided they didn't know which ending to go to, so they didn't go at all. Like, oh, yeah.
And I get it because, I just asked that question a few minutes ago, but you shouldn't think I want the good ending. You should think I want to make my own choice. Like having Ebert say, oh, there's a good ending. Fuck you. They're all good endings. Let the audience decide which is let the box office decide. If all the C's were being raved about, again, there's no internet, so I don't know. People aren't going to bust out their phones. Like, I just saw this ending. What's with our movies that we talk about? Most of them, they don't know how to market, but yet they became, I wouldn't say hits. This was not a hit. It didn't make enough money to even cover the budget, but
yeah,
it became a cult classic. We're talking about it 40 years later.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird hearing that these people are like, oh yeah, this is a movie. It was great. And we don't know how to talk about this movie to get people excited about it.
Right. Martin Mull, who played Colonel Mustard, said, I knew how much fun I had doing it, and I was surprised that didn't translate to the audience having so much fun seeing it. Michael McKean, Mr. Green, added, there wasn't a thing about the movie's lack of success that you could lay at Jonathan Lynn's door. I think he made exactly the right movie. I just don't think they knew what to do with it.
Yeah.
So as a result of this bombing, Jonathan Lynn was fired from his next director role, which was going to be Steve Martin's Roxanne. He basically left Hollywood because no one would hire him.
Damn.
It sounds like he did a small comedy, like a small British comedy as a director a couple years later. And then having done that, 20th Century Fox hired him to direct My Cousin Vinny, which was a genuine hit for him in 1992. Also won Marissa Tomei an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. But also around this time, Clue started to be on cable all the time because it was an inexpensive movie when they had slots to fill.
Hmm.
I think this is also what happened with Hocus Pocus, if I'm remembering correctly.
I think so, yeah.
Martin Mull, who played Colonel Mustard, said, "There are no dirty words. There's no toplessness. It's good television programming." And it's true, because while obviously, like, there's implied violence, even when we see people getting shot, there's not necessarily blood.
No.
Like, there's barely any gore or blood or anything, like, super objectionable.
The most gory thing is when Mr. Body was dead the second time, there is a streak of blood on one side of his face. But barely.
Yes, that's what I was thinking, exactly. Also, people talk a lot about it might have helped the movie's popularity that when you're discovering it for the first time on cable, you're seeing all three endings stitched together. And a lot of the people like us who might have been watching it on TV at this time weren't old enough to remember the weird rollout at the theater that got everyone angry and or confused. So it didn't have that baggage with it, that this was that movie they did a weird release for and I heard it's not good. All of this makes sense. I think we talk about this with quite a few movies that maybe didn't even bomb necessarily at the box office, but they endured because people our age grew up watching them on cable all the time. And now we're of an age where we're the ones talking about them on the internet all the time, or like running the movie sites or whatever. So it makes sense. Everything lined up well for Clue to become a hit for people our age, we'll say that way.
It endured over time because it aged with us.
Yes. Yeah. And I feel personally on top of that, at least half of this cast we grew up loving in other movies too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's already this built-in nostalgia factor. Even if you haven't seen Clue, like, you know, your wife hadn't seen it before, she knows who Tim Curry is. She knows who Christopher Lloyd is. Mm-hmm. There are all these actors who are in other beloved movies.
Yeah, when I was little, I recognized Mr. Green from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen Spinal Tap yet at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I knew him from Saturday Night Live before I'd ever seen Spinal Tap. Okay, so Jonathan Lynn talking about this resurgence. "I go to teach at film schools, and there's always someone in the class who says, 'It's my favorite movie.' And I think, well, haven't you seen The Godfather or Lawrence of Arabia?' But equally, I'm very flattered, of course." Michael McKean says that he has this theory about why the movie grew in popularity. "It's a movie that is about adult stuff, but you don't need a lot of hands-on experience to know what they're talking about. It's about murder and sex and blackmail, but you don't really get your hands dirty because it's so silly. It's almost like the characters in it were based on characters in a game. Oh, wait a minute."
Boom. Mic drop McKean.
Yep.
But it makes sense because as a kid I watched it and I recognized, like I said, 3 or 4 of the actors, but it was the game I loved and it was silly. And the other stuff was just secondary for a kid. You know, we want to see, there's parts where it's slapstick, like Three Stooges. There's silly lines. Tim Curry running all over the goddamn place.
Yeah, and I feel like even before I'd ever seen this movie, I knew about Tim Curry running around the house. There were just things I knew about. But again, I had friends who this was their favorite movie, multiple friends. And obviously this was our age group because these were like, you know, kids I went to school with.
Right.
But that's why I finally watched it, because I was like, so many people for my whole life have been like, I love Clue. That's my absolute hands down favorite movie. So I'm like, okay, I have to watch this. I did want to point out something about the soundtrack that I found interesting. It was not initially released on, you know, CD, cassette, whatever. In February 2011, a limited edition CD soundtrack was released from Clue. And then for the 30th anniversary in 2015, a limited edition vinyl was released. But this was kind of fun. It was 6 different character-themed color variants. Why are you nodding like you know about this?
I do. I saw this in when I was researching, because there's only 2 songs credited in the movie because they use some songs appropriate to the time. I saw that they had a soundtrack. I was like, what's 2 fucking songs? But it's what they made for the movie, what was composed. And
like the score?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And
obviously they released it. This has to be it because they're not going to put these other songs on there. But when I saw that, I was like, that's clever. This is the marketing they needed back then. But yeah, because if you were one of your friends back in the day, if you really love this, it was your favorite movie, you might want to collect all 6 colors. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a collector's thing. I didn't look much more into it. I don't know if you just buy it and what you get is what you get, if you can select your color. I just thought that was very clever and very fun.
Yeah, and funny, like maybe you want to collect all the vinyls because you assholes didn't want to go see all the endings when it was out in the theaters. But then a third version of the soundtrack was released on vinyl in 2022.
That's crazy.
Again, like you said, not any one big song like we've seen in past things we talked about this season. But the fact that the soundtrack wasn't even released until 2011, obviously this is a movie that grew in popularity. Like there's no other explanation for that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when the soundtrack is mostly just a score.
Yeah. You know how anything that's popular becomes both a Monopoly or a Clue version of it?
Yes.
Like I have Simpsons, Clue, and Monopoly in my basement.
Yeah.
Is there, or should there be, if it doesn't already exist, and shame on you if it doesn't exist, a Clue the movie version of Clue the board game, where those are the characters and like you have the actors portrayed in the... That should be a thing.
Yeah, it should be a thing.
Come on, 40th anniversary already happened. What are we going to wait for 45?
Yep. My last note actually was that for the 40th anniversary, it was re-released in theaters the way they did it originally with one ending. And a lot of theaters, I think what they did was like Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and would do like each of the endings like that.
Huh. How did that go for them?
I did not find anything about how well the re-release did, but there are, I don't know what you call them, but troops that put on showings of Clue like they do for Rocky Horror, where they have actors like acting it out at the same time the movie's playing.
Okay.
So I feel like if it's popular enough to have those kinds of screenings or midnight screenings, some people probably showed up for multiple screenings. I don't know if it's like your favorite movie ever. I don't know.
I just feel like this is a good example of learning from your past mistakes and just re-release it as the way it became popular, the way we watched it.
Yes, I agree with that. I was surprised that they did this because it did not work for them the first time. And then we're already saying that part of the reason they think it grew in popularity was, one, being able to discover it on cable, but two, the fact that it was all put together on cable. And like I said too, I thought this was how it was supposed to be because I thought it was nodding to the board game about how you could get a different ending to the board game every time.
Sure, yeah. Which I didn't think about makes sense.
I thought that was so clever. Turns out it was not what they intended.
Turns out like, we failed doing 3 endings. I put them together on cable. Fuck it.
Yeah. Jonathan Lynn did say, by the way, that he designed those cards, that the silent movie looking cards that are like, but what if this happened? And this is what really happened. And he designed that just for the home video release.
That's cool. I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. I like, as simple as the beginning was, I like the ending. It has the upbeat song and it has 3 different Clue cards like from the game, and it reveals a different actor and it gives their name. I like that was kind of fun. That was nice.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Well, as you said, this movie slowly grew in popularity for various reasons. Mostly just having one ending, I think, helped. But yeah, Clue never had a sequel, but there were plans for a remake. Although, much like its release, it's been very messy road for Clue the remake.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been in limbo for years. Gore Verbinski, who I recognize him for doing the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean films, he was in development in 2009. Then in 2011, Universal dropped that. Hasbro Studios moved... Pause right for a second. Hasbro Studios. Earlier we talked about board games being turned into movies.
Yeah.
Hasbro Studios. So anyways, that being said, Hasbro has studios now. Must have been that Battleship money, huh?
Yeah.
They moved the project to 20th Century Fox in 2016, envisioning a, quote, worldwide mystery with action-adventure elements, potentially establishing a franchise with international appeal.
Okay.
Not sure exactly what that means, but I'm intrigued.
I'm getting Carmen Sandiego vibes.
Yeah, now that you say that. Didn't think that, but I do now.
Yeah.
Where's that reboot?
Yeah.
Again, they're already thinking about the marketing before the movie. They're like opposite of the original movie. Oddly enough, Ryan Reynolds optioned a 3-year first look deal in January of 2018, planning to star in the remake with the script by Rhett Reese, who did G.I. Joe. Again, more 80s nostalgia come to life. Mm-hmm. And he also did the Deadpool films with Paul Wernick, who also worked on the Deadpool films with Ryan Reynolds. I'm assuming this is under his maximum effort production team.
Okay.
A first look deal, if I'm correct, it's you get to be first in line at looking at it under your contract to option whether you want to make it or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that wasn't odd enough, Jason Bateman was briefly attached to the film in 2019. He was set to direct along and star alongside with Ryan Reynolds.
Huh. Okay.
James Bobbin, the only thing I noticed that he did was 2011's The Muppets.
Okay.
Attached as a director in February of 2020 with Oren Uzel, who did the Cloverfield Paradox, hired to rewrite the script in August of 2020. So there's been a script. It just keeps getting reworked and chopped up depending on who is now attached to it.
Huh.
Hasbro Entertainment, they've upgraded from studio to entertainment.
Yeah, yeah.
They sought new right arrangements for Clue in 2024 and established deals with TriStar Pictures and Sony Pictures Television for new screen adaptations for the board game. Screenwriter Shay Haddad, John Wick 3 and 4, had been in talks for the new film script.
Okay.
So a lot of names that I would definitely pay to go see attached, albeit briefly, to the picture in some way, shape, or form.
I wonder if everyone realizes, like, you could also just make new movies.
Well, you know, that's a thing.
Like, I never am one of those people that are like, how dare you remake this one thing? Like, you're ruining my childhood. Like, it's not that serious. But sometimes you hear about things like this where they've been trying for years to do a remake, and it's just like,
give up.
Just like, obviously we're not really moving ahead with anything. I don't know. Not everything needs a remake. Not everything needs a reboot.
Right. Well,
sometimes the people just want an original movie.
This is true. I think part of it is what you were talking about earlier, how popularity of the film has grown. They took X amount of years, 30 years maybe, to do an anniversary soundtrack,
like anything
release
for the anniversary. Yeah.
And so maybe someone said, hey, these aging millennials really like this movie. Let's put money in our pockets by making another version of it. But clearly something isn't clicking because they can't seem to make it stick.
Yeah, I agree.
Apparently.
And that's a good point. Like, Hocus Pocus got a sequel because
of us.
It grew in popularity so much. Yeah. And I understand they can't exactly do a sequel. Like, I think half the cast has passed away.
Right. It wouldn't make
Mrs.
sense
Peacock,
anyways. Yeah.
Mrs. White, and Tim Curry's had a debilitating stroke, I believe.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, instead of a remake or reboot, Clue on Stage happened. It is a comedic stage play. It was adapted from the film. So this is a direct stage adaptation from Clue the movie from 1985. Playwright Sandy Rustin adapted the 85 screenplay for stage, with Hunter Foster and Eric Price providing, quote, additional material for the stage version. Clue on Stage had its world premiere at the Bucks County Playhouse in New Hope, Pennsylvania in 2017, directed by Foster. And then a revised version, directed by Casey Hushin, emerged in 2020 at Cleveland Playhouse.
Yay!
That's the only reason why I wanted to mention that. However, though, this revised iteration led to regional productions, a lot of them on the West Coast, and that turned into the basis for an ongoing North American tour.
Okay.
So Cleveland shout-out goes big. Mm-hmm. Critics praised the play's successful translation of the film's farce and the game's whodunit suspense into live theater, especially this high-energy physical comedy, rapid-fire dialogue, pacing, and set design.
Yeah, I could see this working really well on a stage. I think this makes a lot more sense than redoing the movie, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember seeing that Clue as a play was playing at Cleveland Playhouse. Like, I've never seen it, but I know I've seen advertisements for it.
I wanted to point out, I didn't want to do too much research on it because it's not about the movie, but Clue on stage, don't get that confused with Clue the musical, which was a thing.
Oh, maybe that is what I'm thinking of. Who knows?
That was much older, and it was based off the board game, not adapted from the movie. So it was a whole nother thing. One of the things I thought was cool is that there was some audience participation. They would hold up different cards, and they had a vote on, like, I guess, what room to go into, or they're kind of playing the game live.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
It didn't go over very well. Critics didn't like it. Numbers didn't show very well. So that disappeared. And there was also Cluedo, a British television game show.
Okay.
Again, not based off the movie. Didn't want to talk too much about it. This is more of the legacy of the game itself, I suppose.
So did Clue hold up for you?
Yeah. Watching it again, lots of chuckles. I like quips and quickness of line delivery. As I mentioned, Tom was over, and I persuaded him to watch it with me, and he was excited because he hasn't watched it in decades, he said. And it was my wife's first viewing, and they both enjoyed it.
Yeah, I liked it so much more than the first time I watched it. I don't know, maybe I wasn't in the mood for it the first time. I don't know. But I will definitely not wait like 20 some years to watch it again.
Right. You know, this is the last one of the season, and if I remember correctly, they all blur. This seemed to have the least success in 1985, and granted, this is based off the movies we pick that we want to talk about.
Right.
I understand that. Definitely seems way different than the other ones as far as what seemed to be popular in 1985.
Right.
This didn't have teens or nerds or science.
I think part of it is because it wasn't set in the 80s.
Good point.
It doesn't follow this trajectory we've seen of the movie industry as we've moved through this season.
Right.
Because we've seen certain trends. We've seen things like teen movies suddenly catch on in popularity. It was so fun and interesting to me to do a season this way where everything's in the same year and we talk about them in order of release because you can see these things popping up. You can see what studios are starting to want or change their minds on. And then, yes, Clue does feel like an outlier to all of it, to be honest.
But maybe if it was set in 1985, like the rest of these movies, I don't think it would make it better, but maybe it would have more success. I don't know. I mean, what is Clue missing that the other ones that we've watched have? There's no music tie-in. Danny Elfman's not making a music video for Clue. You know, it's 50, so they can't make it.
There's no big pop star linked to it or a big theme song.
They could have had Madonna.
Yeah, they could have had Madonna. No teens, no 80s music, no 80s fashion. Oh my God, could you imagine if they were all in 80s?
No.
And I don't know if they really had a big bankable star either. People like Tim Curry and Madeline Kahn were already famous for other roles, but not in a way where like everyone would go see Teen Wolf because of Michael J. Fox. It wasn't
right
the same.
They weren't blockbuster draws.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What else does it not have? Anything looking like Rube Goldberg?
Yeah. They didn't have enough weird contraptions. They just hired a cook.
Maybe instead of being quirky and silly, if they were raunchier like Porky's.
That's what it was. This was finally the one movie that it failed because they weren't listening to all the Porky's suggestions.
Right. Or, besides bad marketing, maybe it's bad time of year because after Thanksgiving, so some of the holiday releases are probably starting to be popping up.
That is one thing I was surprised at when I was, first getting into the research and everything, and I saw the December release date. That is an odd time to just release any old movie that's not a holiday movie or trying to go for Oscar buzz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I did want to point out, since, Deborah Hill was a producer on Clue, We saw two big name female producers pop up this season. One being Deborah Hill. She worked on Pee-wee and Clue, and we previously talked about her when we talked about Halloween. Lauren Schuler Donner worked on Lady Hawk and St. Elmo's Fire. And both of these women I really liked learning about them. I liked seeing that they both independently built their own producer careers. It's really amazing, and especially when you consider that they were working, I believe they both started in the 70s. It was before the 80s. I know that much, and it's just really cool to see them having like that much success.
Yeah. And it's fun doing this kind of season because besides trends, we see producers, actors pop up. I think we've seen a list of people at least twice besides these two, whether on screen or behind. And I'm not surprised, but at the same time, I kind of was. I was like, damn, these are a busy year for these motherfuckers.
Yes, I agree with that. I will say, out of everyone, I was not expecting to see Stillwell from A League of Their Own pop up twice.
Back to back.
Yeah, that too.
On my list, one I am surprised I'm seeing twice, but not at the same time. I'm surprised seeing Spielberg twice because we didn't watch a Spielberg movie.
It doesn't matter.
But because it doesn't matter, that's why I'm not surprised. But it's just weird. I'm like, we didn't even talk about this guy, but we did talk about this guy. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised it was only twice.
I like these lady producers. I feel that I like that Lauren Schuler Donner. I did not like her movies very much.
Oh.
But damn, they made good podcast episodes.
And don't forget, she's from Cleveland. That's all that really matters.
Yeah.
Those were pretty good episodes.
When a friend texts you saying how unhinged an episode was and she loved it, it made my day. Lady Hawk.
Lady Hawk. Oh, God. All the French I had to try to pronounce for that episode.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. What a season, huh?
Yeah, what a season. I told you I learned so much. Not even just about movies.
Yeah. No, a lot of other things.
A lot of other things. Feel like I should go watch Porky's, maybe?
We should watch Porky's.
We should watch Porky's. Why does everything have to be Porky's? You know what I really should look... I wanted to look up how much money this actually made, considering everyone's so obsessed with it. Like 4 years later or something.
Yeah, weird. To be continued.
To be continued. All right. We would love to hear your thoughts on Clue, as well as your own favorite films from 1985. You can find us on Instagram at Back Through the Lens Pod and on Facebook at Back Through the Lens. You can also email us at backthroughthelenspodcast@gmail.com. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rating and review. It's the best way to support our show.
If you enjoyed our show today, please give us a like and follow for updates on new and future episodes. Our show is produced by our hosts, Rachel Campbell and myself, Joe Siomick, with additional help and support from Peter Telp of LPV Productions. Peter, Rachel, and I are also the executive producers. Our awesome logo is brought to you by Tom Faraci, and our wonderful theme songs by Matt Tarek. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more trips into our movie-watching past on Back Through the Lens.
We always turn into something a little off topic.
Something that we're not. Diversity.
Yep. Diversity of nostalgia. It's not just movies, guys.
Ooh.
Look, all these movies now have special places in my heart, even if it's for bad reasons.
Yeah, so is indigestion, but what are you going to do?